와, 야 호진이 형이랑 팀하면 이런 느낌이구나.
좀 든든하지.
든든해.
프리시즌을 통해서 과연 어떤 그림들이 만들어질지 지금부터 본격적인 경기를 여기 계신 여러분들 박수와 함께 지금부터 시작해보겠습니다.
아 여보세요?
왜?
아 보스.
됐다.
나야.
야 명수야.
네?
긴장하자. 천천히 해라.
네.
잘하자.
재밌을 것 같아 진짜로.
그래 야 그냥 그 생각으로 즐기자고.
와, 나 3년 만이야 3년 만. 개 재밌어.
너 3년 만이야?
네.
형도 3년 만이야.
형, 너 2년 만이죠? 형.
형 3년 거의 가까이 됐어. 은퇴하고 3년 만이라고 너는. 나는
맞네.
너는 예선을 나왔으면 떨어진 거잖아.
시작한다.
즐기자!
역시 리브 샌드박스는 멀티 포지션을 운영하면서 어떤 선수가 어떤 포지션에
뒤에 막아놨어. 뒤에 돌 막아놨어.
있다.
죽였다.
나이스.
죽었다. 괜찮아 2등이야 2등.
팔고 인수 팔고.
저 짧아? 먼저 가야 돼.
프로. 일단 해볼게.
스피드를 보호할 필요가 없이 혼자서 그냥 무쌍.
일단 2대1이에요. 1등 하면 이겨요.
필요가 있었는데 호준 이거 눈치채고 도망갔어요. 일이 수상하면 되거든요. 호준.
그러면 500m
옵니다. 되나요? 이제 400.
1-3만.
나이스. 나 1단다.
그대로 올라갑니다. 센세이스.
칠판이야.
나야!
와, 호진이 형.
아 이제 하지.
실점 봐.
아 맞았다.
와, 야 호진이 형이랑 팀하면 이런 느낌이구나.
좀 든든하지.
든든해.
자, 현재까지 닐입니다. 닐도 사실상 최근에 가장 임팩트 있는 모습을 보였던 선수 중 한 명인데 현재 라운드가 좀 애매했거든요.
천천히 돌쳐.
네.
야 앞에 있어봐.
이런 부분이 중요해지겠습니다. 드래프트 타이밍 조절합니다.
죽였어.
나이스. 팔고.
봐봐.
호준도 퍼센트를 믿는 거.
보고 있어. 앞에서. 나이스. 갈게.
잡았다. 7.
1-3만. 왼쪽.
1-3만.
리브 샌드박스가 이렇게 들어옵니다.
나이스.
그 평행 세계를 다투었던 팀들이 카트라이더 드리프트라는 무대에서 만나게 됐습니다. 과연 첫 승리를 가져갈 팀은 어떤 팀이 될지 지금 바로 출발합니다.
구호 한번 할까? 시작하기 전에.
시작할 때 하자. 시작할 때.
한번 라인. 로딩 창 딱 뜰 때 내가 먼저 하나 둘 셋 락스 하면 화이팅 하자. 오케이.
뭐 화이팅 크게 할겨?
얘네들은 그런 스타일 아니야. 성량이 크지가 않아.
화이팅.
해.
우리 진짜 절대 쫄지 말자.
오케이.
예, 하나 둘 셋 락스.
이거
화이팅.
러너가 4명인 팀도 굉장히 무섭지만 스위퍼가 가능한 선수가 4명이 있다는 게 광동 프리스의 가장 큰 장점이거든요.
가봐 먼저.
왕당.
그냥 배가는 뭐 어쨌든 저도 불러준 적이 있어가지고
방금 전에
내가
들어가
할게. 뒤에 상대 팔 일단.
자력으로 둥지가 뚫어야 되는 상황이 됐습니다.
볼 수 있어.
나도 왔다. 남 다 먹어갖고.
자 일단 밟을게.
작업이야 얘. 박았어 얘.
나이스. 일단 가.
앞에 차 이거. 나 8등이다 이거.
일단 잡아놨어.
봐봐. 그대로 가.
나 이거 6대6.
좀 더 봐야 돼요. 살짝 막아주는 스피어.
자, 얼마 남지 않았습니다. 성빈이 올라갑니다. 성빈 하면 도치가 올라가는 도치
두친가요?
올라가는데 포인트는 락스.
자, 파이브.
엎대지 마.
다운.
나 하나 뚫었어.
막아놨어.
나이스. 이제 주행만. 앞에 1대1 해.
나 드랩 빨았어.
가 먼저.
나 빨리 갈게.
막아놨다.
가봐.
나이스.
혹시 라인 블록이 훌륭한데요, 지속적으로? 컨베이어 벨트 공간에 원투만 보호할 수 있으면 진짜 좋은 거거든요. 락스 입장에서는 과감하게
피했어.
이건 좋은데 스리 자체가 안 좋아요.
안전하게만 해줘.
락스 그냥 먹게 생겼어요. 성빈이 깨지 못합니다.
나이스 김두치.
나이스.
나이스 이진거.
나이스. 우리 잘했다 진짜.
잘했어.
술이 먹혀서 터질 뻔했는데 우리가 잡았어.
나비, 녹, 히어로, 시즈 그리고 택이 여기 있어요. 택 바로 마리, 민식, 애시드 플라이, 스칼렛 렌즈예요.
그냥 너무 부담 갖지 말고 편하게 집이랑 생각하고 해야겠다. 특히 성경준.
네. 현이 형 브리핑만 잘하자.
그냥 우리 할 것만 하자.
최대한 브리핑 그려줄게.
나도 그려줄게.
우리 마지막에 그 콜만 맞추고 천천히 좀 침착하게 하면 될 것 같은데.
가보자. 화이팅!
화이팅!
시끄러.
이 2세트 아이템전 첫 번째 라운드는 팩토리 프로기의 심수입니다. 이어서 달려보시죠.
번개 바로 할까?
번개 해봐. 4기
번개
번개.
했어.
나 미사일 떠.
번개 딱 안 맞아.
너 부스 질렀어.
흑정아 더 쏴줄게. 물 줘. 파리. 파이 떴어. 1등 떴어. 다시
뛰어났어.
틈치고 와.
뒤에 물 보이나?
나안
봐줄게.
보여. 나 못 가.
아.
어 뭐야?
우리 저 앞에 줘.
오케이.
형 나 부스 하나임. 일단 빨아주면 좋아요.
잡아내야 돼요.
자, 천사로 넘어갑니다. 천사로 넘어가는데 지금
일단 볼게. 알았어.
나올 수 있어 이 트랙.
노기
형 나와봐.
첫
알아도?
네. 파이팅 형. 나이스.
어이. 투구 나가. 나 놀랬어. 질 뻔했어.
역시 은택이야.
형 마이크 좀만 더 붙여주세요.
눈 감고 마이트 컨트롤하고 있어. 오케이. 통역조 4명이라고 생각하고 있어.
그걸 너무 잘하는 거 아닌가?
야, 그럼 거의 우승 못하는.
플레이 썸을 얻어 맞다 보니까 지금 렌즈도 바빠졌어요.
그렇죠. 그리고 주요 아이템을 많이 들고 있어.
모자 하나 없을게요.
나이스.
나 이거 어디서 할 거냐면 1렙 마지막 오르막에서 해볼게.
알았어. 갑자기 이거 선사 형 먼저 해도 돼?
네, 먼저 하셔도 돼요.
번개 가는 거 같고요.
뒤에
이렇게
열려.
할까?
번개
잠깐만
해봐
대기.
그냥. 아 오케이.
할게.
대기. 하나 쓸게 이거 탁탁.
천이야 3천. 이게 나.
형 먼저 해봐. 다크다운
이거 이대로 가자. 가오디 좀 챙겨놔.
한대 맞을 거.
맞아도 돼. 다 붙었어. 1등까지 버리.
역전만 하는 것이 아니라 피니시 라인 직전에서 자석을 쓰는 상대방을 밀어내는 몸싸움도 보여줄 수 있거든요. 분명히 아우라라면 가능할 수 있습니다.
이 빨간 거 챙겨보세요.
내가 뭐 챙길게.
너 챙겨.
일단
계속
챙겼어요.
간다. 이거
내가 이거 다원이 빨고
나오지
날라갈게.
해봐.
나 안 맞을 거야.
우회랑
아.
빨아. 끝나고 나 스칼렛 띄울게.
지금 안 열린다.
뒤에는 몰라.
뒤에 잘 있어.
번개 해볼래? 천. 연결 이거.
쓸게.
패치. 내가 1등 빨게.
상대로 빨렸어.
빨아줄게. 끝까지. 끝까지.
렌즈 서킷 렌즈 노 갑자기 우와
나이스.
나이스.
아나 템.
보여준다.
나 짜부가 안 나와.
성경둥이 나 죽이고 갔어.
형이에요?
나이스.
짜부였는데. 근데 우준아 형 너가 안 죽였으면 우리
그죠. 형이랑 저랑 날라갔을 듯.
Welcome back to another day of Kartrider Drift League. We're in our 7th day of main stage matches here. My name is Wolf. I'm with State today. We've got some good matches coming at you guys. 2 team matches and a solo competition as well.
Yeah, back to the weekend format here after we had those 3 team matches on Wednesday. And it should be a treat, too. We have Sensation kicking off things against ReBoot. Looking forward to watching that match. You know, Sensation, one of those teams that coming into this league had a lot of talk about them potentially making it to the playoffs, but the way things have gone so far, not too sure if they're going to be making it, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, some tough opponents to be sure that they faced so far as well. So we'll have to wait and see how they perform today because it's a matchup that is very important for them. Here is our overview of the tournament. You guys have probably been following, but if you haven't, we have 8 teams going into a regular season where the top 4 will, of course, move on to a double elimination format. You can see the prize pool, of course, listed there on the right.
Yeah, 40 million Korean won for first place, 20 million for second, 10 million for third, and so on. And that 40 million, just shy of 40,000 US dollars, is here. We got to look at the standings right now. And I mean, for me, coming into today, the main storyline is, can anybody stop the FREECS? Because, I mean, they just plowed through Live Sandbox. Granted, it wasn't Live Sandbox at their full strength on Wednesday, but this team just seems unstoppable.
Yeah, they really do, and it's a little bit unfortunate that we won't get a rematch between those 2 teams until postseason. So it's going to be a while before we actually see Live Sandbox face them, potentially at their full strength. So it's going to be very difficult for Live Sandbox to even catch up in the standings because KWANGDONG FREECS actually have that win if they continue to do well. Not an easy opponent today in Planet. That'll be our second matchup, but our first matchup, as you mentioned, is Sensation. really trying to bounce back, and they took that loss to Finale, which is a match that you really needed to win so desperately, and ReBoot's a similar opponent here.
Yeah, Sensation, they've been doing all right in speed mode, but so far, item mode has just kind of been, you know, their Achilles heel so far. So we'll see if they're able to turn that around here against ReBoot. We would like to see, I mean, personally, I want to see an ace match, but if you're a Sensation fan watching from home, you really want to see them tighten that up. They've been one of the worst teams coming into, you know, what is this, day 7 now.
Yeah.
When it comes to item mode. And of course, also, we are done with a round of 32 for solo matches. Round of 16 for the individual tournament begins today. That will be the 3rd match of the evening as Wolf, I think we're getting ready to introduce our players here on Team Sensation.
Yeah, Sensation coming out here, a 4-man roster, no specific item ace. Guard is the hybrid role, so it does kind of do some of the shot calling you would expect in that mode. But a team that really had a lot of hype and high expectations coming into this because Hojun is on this roster, a player with so much experience, so many titles under his name. But even he has been struggling as of late, and the team needs to regain form because they're running out of time to turn this season around.
Yeah, this is really, it's hard to say this even though it's only, you know, the 4th or the 3rd match for these teams, but it kind of feels like it's do or die time for these guys. If they want to make it to the playoffs, you can't walk away with another loss here today, especially if you're Sensation.
Yeah.
You do not want to start the league 1-4 if you want to crack that top 4 spot. And ReBoot, they're in the same boat right now. They've only played 3 matches so far. 1-2 is their record. They want to tie that up, go even with a 2-2, and potentially get into a position where they can catapult themselves into the postseason.
It's exactly what they're looking to do here. We'll see if they can perform against Sensation that are struggling tonight. Maybe see if we'll see an ace match between these two teams. I think that's kind of the expectation. But I am casting with State today, and he hasn't gotten one yet, so...
Yeah, the only caster here at the KDL that has not yet had an ace match. But
Superstition is definitely not on your side right now.
Admittedly, though, I gotta say, if we're gonna have an ace match, I feel like Sensation versus ReBoot, one of the highest probabilities here. You see, I mean, overall in speed, this team's been doing quite well. Hojun, in particular, the speed ace on this team, averaging 5th overall here in the team league when it comes to speed rank, as we see, you know, their attacks per minute, their blocks, not quite as good as you would expect. Those were, of course, out of the 8 teams here, so Sensation all the way down, 7th out of 8th place in blocks overall, and only winning 25% of rounds in item mode so far in this tournament.
Yeah. This is a bit of a meme because of ReBoot's name sounding like robot, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a diss as well. We calling the players like bots, basically, but it's some underlying meaning here, of course, as ReBoot sounds close to robot, of course. And on ReBoot's side of things here, a team that I think, oppositely of Sensation, didn't have a lot of expectations coming into this, but have actually kind of been overperforming, especially when you consider Luning's performance in solo matches as well. So there's a lot of really talented players on this roster, and I think that if they could win tonight, maybe there's a chance they sweep into that 4th place spot, you know, and take one of those postseason spots away.
It's possible. 2 of their losses so far in this league have been to RO.16 and Lip Sandbox, which are one of the stronger teams. You know, both those teams are in the top 4 right now, and they were able to dispatch Finale. So if they could come away with a win here, you know, that puts them in position with a 2-2 record of potentially cracking that top 4 spot, making it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and this is 3 players, of course, in the solo matches for round of 16. You guys have speed fighting.
Yes, Speed, the runner there for Sensation. The lone player for that team standing in the individual league is a little bit of tit for tat there. Both these teams digging in just a bit.
Yeah, here are our speed track lists, of course, as we move into speed mode. We're starting things off on Terracotta Twister. We'll then move into Glacier Extreme Stadium and Bayside Bridge Run, Boom Hill Tunnel, and then finally New York Rally. So some bands here that, you know, you do often see: Destruction Chaos and Zigzag Timberland. Those are the bands that we saw from ReBoot. Some very difficult tracks, actually, to hit the highest skill ceiling on. So I think lowering it a little bit here in this match against Sensation.
Yeah, going for a bit of a simpler track list. Terracotta Twister, probably one of the more difficult ones coming into this. And the bands from Sensation going to be Mine Gold Rush and World Tour Boostwood, which I feel like Boostwood gets banned more often than not, man. At least maybe the days that I'm casting.
Yeah, no, Boostwood definitely is definitely a highly banned track. Bayside Bridge Run, also one that gets banned quite a bit. So we're going to see ReBoot play on that one. They chose Terracotta Twister first, as you mentioned. I think that's the toughest of our 5 in terms of piloting those really, really tough turns. So trying to get the hard part over first, it looks like.
The checklist here today for Sensation. So my Korean's not good enough to read that quickly, but a lot of fans here. Another packed crowd at the KDL. Everybody turning up in droves to support their favorite players, their favorite teams in this do-or-die match between Sensation and ReBoot. Let's go to World Tour Terracotta Twister.
We are off. It's our first track between these teams, Sensation and ReBoot here in speed mode. And already, ReBoot with a pretty massive lead off the starting block.
Yeah, Luning and Ding in a nice position right there, right out of the gates. Positions 1, position 2, but Sensation right behind them. 3, 4, 6, 7 as they're starting to close the distance here with a little bit of team drafting.
Yeah, and Hojun and Guard really need to get into position here to challenge them right now as Cosu is hot on their heels. And now that Kosu's actually gotten into the top 4, he can actually create quite a bit of disruption here, actually. And Hojun is going to be in big trouble if he actually can't pass soon here because he's not the type of player who actually does very well in the middle of the pack. He's a speed ace. He wants to get out in the open very early on to get those tight turns. He hasn't been very successful at actually regaining ground so far this season.
Yep, gonna try his best to close the distance as all these players successfully navigating the interior section here on Terracotta Twister. So we're about to get ready to go into lap number 2 with Hojun and Guard now shoring up the rear here for Sensation, 2nd and 3rd place. Speed and Percent though, if they can start to close the distance as we see now with Speed joining them here in the top 4, there's some big potential for Sensation to walk away with this one, even if they can't pass Luning.
Yeah, especially with the space now that Hojun has here in 2nd. Even if he can't pass Luning, as you say, the 2, 3, 4 is a win condition here for Sensation. So trying to hold on to this so desperately right now as Ding actually breaks into the top 4 himself now. So this is a very close race.
But Hojun Wolf, he's able to get first place right now with Guard right behind him. Guard doing some nice body blocking there on Luning. Luning actually getting caught against the wall, and that's going to be Hojun and Guard starting to run away with this one a little bit.
Yeah, they have complete control right now as Ding is trying to take some very aggressive inners here, but he won't be able to close the gap alone right now, and all they have to do is hold on to that 1-2, 200 meters to go.
200 meters away. I don't know if Ding's going to be able to close the distance, and no, it'll be a 1-2 finish here for Sensation as they take track number 1 here in speed mode in commanding fashion.
Yeah, there was one collision there that we did see from Cosu, I believe, and it ended up losing them a lot of control that they had when they had that 1-2 lock-in, and Hojun wasn't able to catch up for so long, but once they got back control, Guard was doing a great job of actually continuing to make sure there wasn't going to be any chance for Ding to pass, and Luning and Cosu got blocked out by Speed as well, so it became a situation where we saw the momentum change almost instantly in that one moment, and then they ran away with it. So very much a close race here, a close start, and just letting everyone know that this is going to be a close series, I think, between these two on speed.
Absolutely, and you know, Sensation, I have to give them the edge personally coming in here on speed. Hojun has been quite good, at least in Team League when it comes to these matches, as we saw him there, you know, didn't have the best start here on this track, was in the middle of the pack for a good duration of lap number 1, but was able to close it out there in the top 2.
There's that the collision I was talking about where Ding was knocked there, and then this was another moment here as well where Luning is not able to actually get up to where he wanted to be there. That's a bit of a tight corner there, and they're blocked out by Speed. So 2 really good team plays there from Sensation to secure this first one.
Yeah, good team play there from Sensation, and this is something they need to do because, you know, they've been struggling in item mode. Speed mode here, this is where they want to bring it home. This is a must-win situation for them. Well, it looks like we are getting ready to go to Glacier Extreme Stadium for track number 2. And they're off here. Sensation Guard in the lead with Cosu right behind him.
Yep, Guard in Hojun really maintaining this early lead with Percent actually now in a great spot. He is the sweeper for this roster. It's his main role. So having this 1-2-3 setup with Percent in 3rd is exactly what you want to have in an ideal situation with this roster. And Speed's moving up too. I mean, this is a first half of the entire standings are all Sensation 1st to 4th. Cosu challenging Percent now, but this is an ideal scenario, like I said. And breaking that top 3 is going to be so difficult now for ReBoot.
Yeah, we do see Percent drop back a little bit to 7th place there, but that's him trying to buy space for the pack leaders here for Sensation as we enter the hairpin turn sections right now. Hojin and Guard in the lead. Will Cosu be able to take some ground here with some tight drifting in the inner line? Is able to close into 2nd place. Hot on the heels now of Hojin.
Yeah, Speed trying to block him out there, but actually missed his chance. Didn't want to take that risk right before the hairpin turns, and is actually going to lose a lot of momentum as a result. So Cosu alone isn't going to turn this around for ReBoot, but it's a first step here. He needs to maintain that first, and Luning is going to have to close that gap. Look at Speed, though, blocking him out very aggressively.
Yeah, Speed doing his best to body block this 2-3-4 is the win condition right now for Sensation, and also with the lead that Cosu has over here on Hojin and Guard, that is not insurmountable, as we see Hojin actually almost taking that 1st place spot there. He's trying to draft as best he can while taking these inner lines just to close the distance, because if he's able to get that 1st place spot, Sensation's gonna be walking away with a win no matter the placements after that.
Excellent sweeping from Speed to this entire track, but now the momentum has been lost here. Cosu has maintained that 1st place spot. Luning jumping up to 3rd. Still Sensation in the lead here. 500 meters to go.
500 meters to go, but Loda and Ding rounding out the back. So ReBoot, Luning, and Cosu, they need to close the distance, but they are not going to be able to do it right now as Sensation with a 2-3-5-6 are not able to get that 1st place finish, but they will win the track with some nice teamwork there. I love the sweeping coming out of their middle players.
Yeah, and when you get to a position like that, when you have that much control in top 4, top 5, you can stop focusing on chasing the 1st place player and actually focus on preventing the rest of the team from closing that gap, and that's exactly what they did. And I thought that we saw a great effort from Speed that entire time. He ends up falling to 6th place at the ultimate finish here for his team, but what he accomplished for Hojin and Guard was really a lot of disruption, and Cosu was always threatening. Like, it actually looked very likely that if he had gotten a little bit more momentum, that they were going to be able to take it, you know? And unfortunately, the sweeping was too good, and they just barely get that extra point there.
Yeah, that teamwork is one of the main reasons why Sensation has been able to win a lot of tracks, a lot of sets even here in Speed mode, is, you know, the running of Hojin and Speed, but also the flexibility of Speed to be able to identify the situation and be like, okay, I'm not the racer that's going to be finishing top 2 on my team. I'm going to play my role the best way I can. I'm going to sit back here along with Percent and, you know, try to do some body blocking, try to induce some collisions, try and slow down the opposing players there on ReBoot, and that teamwork just worked to perfection.
So it's a great start here right now, and you know, you consider that both of these races were very close, but it does seem like the team play is much stronger for Sensation at this moment in time. So ReBoot are really going to need to, I think, get a better start out of the gates, because that has been the issue. Both of these starts were very good for Sensation. They were able to get the setup they were looking for. ReBoot need to bounce back now as we head into Village Bayside Bridge Run. Off we go. This is the last chance for ReBoot to start bringing it back. They need a reverse sweep in order to take speed mode.
Yep, the pressure is on right here for ReBoot, and right out of the gate, once again, Sensation taking the top 3 spots, and even their sweeper Percent here in 5th, closing the distance on Cosu with some nice drafting, and Sensation, I mean, what more can you say? Just right out of the gates, in such a commanding position, and ReBoot, they've got their work cut out for them.
You just can't ask for a better speed ace than Hojin in terms of kart rider history, his experience, right? And if he gets this 1st place spot given to him by some really great cutting right out of the gate, it's tough to catch up to this guy. He's just not going to make mistakes. He's going to play it safe, and he's got a great set of teammates behind him. So even if you see Ding break through, it's not alone enough, and they're going to actually have to take some risks. But look at what Percent is accomplishing here to actually create that disruption. He's basically sacrificing himself to disrupt 3 different players at once.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job of inducing collisions right there on the flank. Is going to slow down both Cosu and Luning back to his level, and with Sensation, Hojin, and Guard leading the pack right now. That is a win condition here for Sensation, in that 23-16, as you see bottom left on the board. They have a bit of breathing room as well.
They certainly do, as Load is trying his best here to actually pass Speed, and he's successful for the time being, but they need one more player up in these top 4 spots, so they're just not able to actually hold on to it right now. As finally, Ding is going to take the lead here. This is the chance that ReBoot was looking for.
We'll see how long it's able to last, though, as it is a 3v2 over here at the front of the pack. 2 laps left to go. Ding and Low doing their best to try and, you know, zone Hojun, Guard, and Speed out, but with 3 players hot on their tails, will they be able to hold on? You know,
This is so close.
It is a win condition, Wolf.
Yeah, it certainly is. And if they actually... Oh, look at that attack from Ding! That's it. That was so sick from Ding. He actually cuts back and blocks him out here as we go to those zigzag turns at the final moment.
Man, I thought Sensation had that one. Even at the very end, when Load and Ding passed, I was thinking, okay, well, surely Sensation will be able to recover. It is a 3v2. They're hot on their heels. They're drafting, you know, they're going to close the distance. In those final turns, they will be able to cause the disruption they need to secure the points they need to win the map and win the set. But no, Load and Ding coming through in the clutch by a hair there are going to go and force track number 4.
They certainly are. That was a very, very clutch play, though, from Ding just to secure that final moment there. Load as well, he's going to, of course, take that first place spot. And Load's attack to actually get past everybody that was blocking. He pushed through speed and percent. He was down low at like 6th place and was able to get all the way up to the top and break through some of the best team play that we have in Kartrider. And I mean, look at this start here where you see Ding is actually pushed back here early. It was such a fantastic lead for Sensation, but later on, you end up seeing, you know, that one heroic run from Load, and that's enough disruption that allows them to actually then catch up. And Hojun actually had the exact angle he wanted to in that last moment, but he was completely blocked out.
Yep, certainly a bit of an upset there as ReBoot taking an unfortunate start and delivering in the finish. Going to 2-1. Will they be able to tie it up 2-2 as we go to Village Boom Hill Tunnel? ReBoot hoping to keep their speed dreams alive here as Luning, fresh out of the gates, going to be taking that pole position. Guard right behind him, but Cosu and Ding, kind of a role reversal here with ReBoot leading the pack.
Yeah. Luning is also such a fantastic player. He gets control like this with Cosu, and if they can communicate well, I think this is going to be very difficult to break, especially when you consider Hojun and Speed are at the back. Speed has been one of the best players at contesting, you know, around 4th, mid, 6th, and Hojun is the speed ace, but he's so far back right now that Guard and Percent are going to have to play a completely different game here in order to crack what is a great setup here for ReBoot right now.
Guard and Hojun doing a great job of both drafting and using these small collisions to gain ground, and actually Guard able to, just for a moment there, pass Luning as, you know, the top 5, top 6 racers here. Just a couple of fractions of a second separating them from 1st place and 5th.
Yeah, Speed is right on the tail of Cosu here. As Guard is doing his best to actually prevent a pass right now. The drafts are coming through, and this is where it gets really hairy here. And here you actually see some braking right now because this is so tight, how close all the racers are. They're actually slowing down so they don't get any collisions because that could be fatal.
Yeah, one of the racers there had a bad collision as we're coming here to the end of the track. Cosu and Ding right now in a commanding position, 1st and 2nd place. Will they be able to deliver it? And no, actually Guard coming through in 2nd place by a fraction of a second will deliver the points that Sensation needs. 20-19, Sensation wins the speed set 3-1 in a photo finish. But man, ReBoot, Cosu and Ding there at the front of the pack, they really gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, and it's incredible how close it is because you're looking for a 2-4-5-6, and it's actually a dead tie between Speed and Ding in 3rd place. This almost never happens.
Oh, wow.
118-346. They actually tied for 3rd, but because of the 5th and 6th place finishes there for Sensation, they will win it by 1 point. But incredibly close finish there, and neither team was willing to take the crazy risk to drift there in those final moments because this was such a close race that if you run into any racer or the wall there, it's done. Like, it's doomed, and they barely were able to win it. I mean, really, like 1 millisecond is the separation between these two teams right now in terms of having that extra point from 3rd versus 4th. Could have turned this entire race around for ReBoot, but a tie for 3rd, such a rare scenario, down to the millisecond.
Yeah, I mean, coming into that, I was just doing the play-by-play, and I could tell just by the racers coming across the finish line how close it was, but to actually have a tie, a frame-perfect tie right there, coming into the end. ReBoot, they really gave Sensation a run for their money in speed mode, and that's where Sensation is favored over here in this set. So now coming into item mode, this is where Sensation's been struggling. They are 0-4 in sets so far in this tournament in item mode. They're 4-12 in rounds in item mode as we get the track list up here, but you know, ReBoot, they have a winning record. They haven't lost a set yet here in Item. They're 6-5 in rounds. So you got to think that ReBoot, you know, you drop those speed maps, but this is where you're going to start the comeback and force an ace.
Oh, absolutely. So let's take a look at what we're actually going to see. Brody's Gloom into Istanbul, then Mushroom Caves, Magma Cavern, and Pharaoh's Pass. As London Knight and Cogwheel Crush are both taken away here by Sensation. Cogwheel Crush has a lot of volatility. It's a very, you know, we've talked about this track a lot here on the English broadcast, but it's one that sometimes can create some unpredictable situations. But it's a little bit more surprising to see both London Knight and Gangnam Streets Band, as they're very similar tracks, by opposite teams here. And then Polar Halfpipe is taken away. That is another one that's very volatile, very, very dangerous. If you make one mistake there, you could lose the entire race.
Yeah, and Item mode, as we know it, is volatile as it is enough already, you know? It's not like speed mode. It's not about racking up points from track to track. It's all about who can cross that finish line first, who can deliver the wombo combo and have the perfect play calling to get your team across that finish line and deliver that win. As Wolf, we're getting ready to start Item mode here. Factory, Brody's group. Don't know why I call it Brody's Gloom. I guess he's getting married, but Brody's Gloom is where we start it here on Item mode. As we see some of our racers here, Sensation, Guard, and Luning just kind of slowing it down here at the bottom of the track, trying to pick up as many items as they can here. This is a two-lapper here on Brody's.
Yeah, Brody, you know, it's time for him to start thinking about it, though, I think, at some point. You know, he's getting a little bit older in years.
Down.
It's not all about repairs, you know. Sometimes you gotta find the right person.
I don't know why I get tongue-tied like that so often, man. I just get ahead of myself.
But it happens. You know, we got a lot of tracks to say properly. As Pure with a really nice dodge, actually, on that water bomb.
Yep, another water bomb coming in. Pure will dodge that. Actually, looks like he got caught by something else.
A missile looks like.
Yeah, a missile or a water wisp or something caught him there. But, you know, track number one, or lap number one, I should say, here in Item mode. Usually, it's much more about posturing and kind of setting your team up to figure out, you know, what is the play really going to be there in the final moments. In track number two, lap number two, as you finally start the second lap here, because oftentimes in Item mode, if this is your first time watching, these tracks, they're won not by a second, not by 2 seconds, but by a fraction of a second, by a clutch magnet, by a clutch nitrous, by both of those being comboed, perhaps with an angel shield. And, you know, as things are shaking up, you see that starting to line up here. A lot of these players, they're trying to save those nitrous, those magnets.
The magnet nitro combo is what you're looking for. Pure actually hung back trying to get his magnet for a long time because he actually had double nitro for a really long time. But now that he has the combo, he's actually at the back of the pack here. So it looks like he's probably going to try to wait for the crazy disruption that's going to happen right now. As we get 400 meters in, there's the Angel to block the water balloon. Can he cross the finish line first? The question, he's so far back, is right now Luning is the one.
Yeah, Luning right there with a nice nitrous there at the end, and one of the cleaner finishes that we've seen here in Item mode. Oftentimes, it's just pure chaos there coming down the track, but you know, ReBoot Luning just saving that nitrous for the final moment, and he's able to deliver the win there as ReBoot goes up 1-0 here.
Yeah, and something I've noticed from watching all of these Item mode tracks that we've had throughout this tournament, you know, we've had 7 days now, or almost 7 days of kart riding here so far, is that it's usually the Item ace they set up to actually cross the finish line and win. Banana, for example, is I think one of the quintessential examples of this, and Finale sets him up really well. In this case, it looked like he was hanging back. He wanted to be the one to save, to make sure he has Magnet Nitro. But it's actually Luning who's able to get through with the Angel usage there. And unfortunately for ReBoot, they didn't have enough control in order to actually set up the play they were looking for. They wanted to use the water balloon to then set up the follow-up boost, but the Angel timing was too good. And there's just so many complex strategies that happen in like 3 seconds of time or less. And you can see here, there's the dodge on the water balloon. And Luning's able to cut across here. The magnet comes through. And HyunSu feels like he's safe here, but actually he still sneaks by.
Yeah, that was a smart play by Luning, kind of holding onto that nitrous until the final moment because he figured there was going to be a magnet coming through. If he did drop the nitrous earlier and then that magnet comes in, maybe he gets past there.
Yeah.
But instead, Luning able to deliver the win. And I mean, coming into this match today, we were thinking Sensation, they're the favorites here in speed mode. ReBoot, they're the favorites here in Item mode. And so far, that's been the storyline. ReBoot now up 1-0. Only need to win 2 more tracks, Wolf, to force an ace match as our players are getting ready to load into track number 2. It's going to be World Tour Istanbul Sunset Plaza.
Off we go. As you mentioned, ReBoot just 2 rounds of items away from bringing us to an ace match here. Sensation, see what their plan is for this one. As early days on Istanbul, it's a track that, you know, on the first lap especially, you see a lot of item usage, a lot of attacks here, as basically players are just trying to efficiently cycle through to get that magnet combo with the Nitro. HyunSu very firmly in first place right now, does have a shield he can hold on to. It's really going to be about lap 3 though, and what you can get before then.
Yeah, I mean, these positions right here with HyunSu and Percent leading the front of the pack, those can shake up in just a moment. As we see Cosu immediately pass them and still holding on to a Nitrous and a Magnet. As you said, you know, it all comes down to track 3. What is the team setup going to be? Who do you have in the back? Who do you have in the front? What items do you have at your disposal coming into those final moments? Because, you know, those magnets, they're so critical there because not only are you speeding up behind whoever it is that you're trailing, but also you're slowing them down. So it's a fantastic way of, you know, kind of changing the dynamic there at the very end.
Yeah.
And the way that we see these teams try to play around it, like Luning in the previous track, holding on to that Nitrous until the very final moment. You know, the meta is slowly developing here in item mode at KDL.
Oh, for sure. And right now, Pure actually has stacked 2 Angels here, and it looks like he was, once he realized he had the first Angel, he was like, all right, my role here is not going to be the one to actually run to grab the finish line. I'm just going to be in the middle of the pack, scout out items here, and then drop this Angel down. And we're getting close to that 3rd lap right now. Guard also holding onto an EMP. Looks like he's going to swap it out here. And now he's got a Magnet of his own. But we do need to see somebody end up with that. Okay, there's the combo for Cosu. Cosu has the Magnet Nitro, and he's going to want to see if he could actually maintain top 4 without using either of these items for this final lap. Because if he uses either of those, he isn't going to have the combo he needs. Ding also holding on to this now. So there's a lot of chaos that's about to hit here. And we're going to trade Angels in the last 500 meters.
Yeah, we are almost perfectly
this is insane.
Identical in terms of item setups here. We have everybody trying to hold on to 1 Magnet and 1 Nitrous, and then we have Pure and Guard for ReBoot and Sensation, both holding on to those Angel shields.
The Storm comes out here. This is actually going to create a Angel discrepancy. It's going to force one early.
The question is, though, will there be enough attacks? Because, you know, with this many players holding on to this as we enter the last 300 meters, Cosu getting magneted there by HyunSu. Actually, HyunSu's going to be able to take the lead here coming into the end. The UFO slows him down, but he will secure the map win there for Sensation, tying it up 1-1, as it was so close there, Wolf.
So close. And actually getting a UFO at the final moments like that is so rare. It's unheard of because that's the moment where you don't have anyone hanging back because everyone's just trying to rush to the finish line.
Right.
And those 2 Storm Clouds that came out actually took away a lot of those Angels. So there's a tactic, just to explain this so people understand, like if you hang back, the lower your placement, say like 6th, 7th, 8th, the more likely you are to get Magnets, the more likely you are to get Storms and Angels. So certain players hang back to try to use that aggressively as an attack. They both got Storms to burn Angels early, and then the Magnets came through. HyunSu's Magnet usage was better there on that final turn. The UFO, if it came out like 1 second earlier, then actually they probably lose that map. But he was able to cross the finish line as it was coming through. Such an incredibly close one.
Yeah, and it was interesting the way that went down too, because, you know, there were so many players. It was such a tight field coming in here towards the finish line. Everyone, it felt like, was holding on to Magnets and holding on to Nitrous, where usually, you know, it's maybe 2 players that are gunning for that final push or 1 player gunning for the final push, and then we have everybody else going for the attacks. Instead, it was just those, you know, item aces hanging in the back, swapping out those Angel shields, then going for, as we saw the UFO there, going for Thunderbolt, a Storm. And, you know, it's going to be Sensation taking a much-needed track win.
Yeah. Very important here. Let's see if they can keep the momentum going, though, as we are going to move into Forest Mushroom Cage for our next map of item.
Both these teams tied 1-1 here in item mode as the best of 5 turns into a best of 3. Sensation looking to pick up their first item mode set win to send them home with a 2-0 and continue the cast a curse of me not getting any ace matches. And ReBoot here, just 2 tracks away from forcing that ace.
Great shield here from Percent. He's going to pick up another one, so he's holding on to Shield Magnet. He's in a great spot because he can continue to actually force aggressive items to be used here and hold this shield. As long as he doesn't use his Magnet, which he wouldn't need to, in first place, he's going to feel great. Gets a Nitro here now after he pops that shield. And the homing wisp is actually going to hit his teammate with the storm cloud here. His magnet usage very early, actually.
Yeah, I know it's 2 laps, but 2 relatively long laps, so you're going to be cycling through those quite a bit. You certainly, or at least almost certainly, as nothing is guaranteed here in item mode, we'll be picking up another magnet, as we see now Luning and Cosu for ReBoot. Rounding up the top 2 spots here, but you know, we've seen these things shake up so many times. I'm not going to get baited saying that ReBoot is in the lead, as we see now percent here in first.
Yeah, I think the setup here is pretty good for Luning because he has the magnet and the booster, but unfortunately he's outnumbered right now. So they are going to have to use this Angel extremely well. Like Kosu's holding on to 2, and where they use that is going to be quite critical, as they actually almost really want an EMP here too. But he actually needs to use this at the exact right time, and then he can break through. Knows Hojun's trying to block him. Stormcloud comes out. There's the first Angel.
Yep, Angel gets popped there, so Sensation kind of in a commanding position right here as we're about halfway through lap number 2. Percent still leading the pack there with a Nitrous and a shield. Ding, though, hot on his tail. So another Angel's going to come out 500 meters from the finish line.
Yeah, Ding here has got that booster set, but does not have a magnet. No magnets here on the top. Pure, making a run for it.
Yeah, Pure's making a run for it, but will Sensation be able to close the distance? And no, it's actually Luning who's able to pass his teammate there for ReBoot.
Oh man, I'm actually, I feel like I can see, like, you know when you look at like one of those magic eye pictures and eventually you see the picture?
Yeah.
I'm actually feeling like I'm starting to really understand item mode, man. I'm like,
really?
I'm plugged in right now. As I can see exactly the way they want to set Luning up, but he was in first for a really long time, right? But
yeah,
he drops back. And he allows everyone else to actually absorb all the pressure while he still holds on to his Magnet Nitro combo. Everyone else has to slow down. Storms come out, Angels get popped. And in the chaos, Hojun's actually trying so hard to block, and so is Guard. They're both trying to block the approach because they know somebody's going to make the run with the Magnet Nitro. And Luning actually just scoots through, like everybody, at the last possible second when all that chaos is going down. And like they set him up for success so incredibly well. These teams are legit good, man.
It's crazy.
I'm actually kind of slowly becoming an item mode fan. You know, I've always been a speed preferrer, but the item mode strategy is coming through. I think the teams are also just getting better at it as the season has progressed. It's crazy.
Absolutely does feel that way. And yeah, we'll see if we get an instant replay here of Luning kind of threading that needle, as you said.
Yeah, look at that. Just right over the top. He's such a good player. I think he's one of the least appreciated players that we have in this entire league. One of my big dark horse picks for solo as well, and he will be playing later on tonight. He's just so talented.
Yep, not the item ace there for ReBoot, but he is their hybrid player specializing in both speed and item mode. As we're getting ready to go to mine Magma Cavern, will ReBoot be able to close it out and force that ace match?
Off we go. ReBoot just 1 win away here from forcing that ace match as Guard's going to hang back. Picks up an early magnet, actually, early magnet nitro, so he's already set. Doesn't want to hold that this long.
Yep, both those nitros and magnets getting popped there as he's going to start closing the distance between him and the rest of his teammates.
Really unfortunate there.
Yeah. He's always precarious here in item mode. You dodge the water balloon, but then you get hit by something else.
It looked like he had actually avoided it, but the hurt box of it actually just stayed out a little bit longer, and then he was able to, or not able to, but he unfortunately was caught up in it.
Yep, Pure now leading the pack here with just a shield to his name, so don't be surprised if Sensation starts to close the distance on ReBoot just a little bit here as we enter lap number 2. And a continuously tight field here, you know?
Yeah. And we actually saw a successful EMP used there by Pure. He got UFO'd and he EMP'd it. That almost never happens, but it actually happened. So another UFO is going to come out here. Guard actually taking control right now, and it's the Magnet Nitros that are set up here. Really only Sensation has them right now. Like, ReBoot actually doesn't really have the setup they're looking for here. They are in control of first and second, but it's that final lap, so need to cycle through some more items.
We have about a lap and a half to go here for these players on ReBoot, so ideally they will be able to, you know, iron out those kinks in their plan.
Pure, he wanted to pick up a Nitro here. He does not have it. It's up to Ding, I think, to actually win this one for ReBoot if they're going to close it out and bring us to that ace match.
Yeah, it certainly does seem that way. Ding right now holding on to both the Magnet and the Nitrous. His Sensation, I mean, They've got a lot of nitrous to their name right now. No angel shields on the field just yet, though, so there is potential that a UFO, as I see Luning holding on to that, might be able to shake things up. 500 meters now from the finish line, Wolf.
Yeah, 300 meters to go. Let's see if he can pull this off. Running out of items here. Cosu's pulled back, but Ding, he makes the run, and he does do it. ReBoot are going to bring us to an ace match. Fist bumps coming out, man. Ding, he held it to the last possible second. They were running out of options, and it looked like maybe he's just going to get blocked out. And also on this track, too, it's very narrow. So if you think you're just going to just press nitro the magnet to win, it doesn't work that way because you're going to collide with the enemy players and then fall off the side or get pushed into the wall and lose that speed. You have to time both your nitro and the magnet really well. And I think that it's really difficult for a team like Sensation to actually be able to prevent a play like this. I think part of it's because they don't have an item ace. You know, they're a team that doesn't specialize in that, and they know that he's trying to make that run, but they're not specialized in actually blocking it and preventing it from happening. You know that Hojun's great at driving carts, but how great is he at actually blocking the nitro magnet advance is the question that I think we kind of had answered there. Not as good, right? So ReBoot taking it, bringing us to an ace, and we'll see who ends up playing this time around. Last time we did see Ding from them. He lost to Jong against Rox, so
yeah, we'll see who they're going to bring out. And I mean, that's an excellent point about the roster there for Sensation. They're running a 4-man roster. As we see most of these teams, whether they be pro teams or amateurs, they run 5 players because you want to have that one specialist that is going to come in item mode and play call it. I mean, that's half the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Is item mode here the team battle. So for Sensation, I mean, that lack of depth is kind of hurting them a little bit. We do have some teams that are able to make it work, like the KWANGDONG FREECS, but I mean, they're basically a team of aces.
Yeah.
You know, those are 4 players that could very well win the individual league in any potential KDL season we have this year. They're probably the favorites coming in to win the team league here as well.
I would say, like, at this point in time, with the win over Live Sandbox, that might be the finals we see later on. Of course, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we have kind of passed the halfway point here. Now, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Hojun is going to be the ace for Sensation, but I wonder if ReBoot are going to give Luning an opportunity to play instead of Ding, because last time we did see Ding, he failed. I would not be shocked if, considering how much Luning has progressed as a player even in these last 2 weeks, that maybe they actually give him a chance here. I think those are the 2 players I'm thinking about right now for ReBoot. We saw last time KWANGDONG actually was willing to give World the opportunity. He succeeded, and I think we are seeing kind of a shift here in terms of old legends versus newer rising stars. I'm excited to see what ReBoot's going to do here, because both players are capable of taking out Hojun, the Emperor of Kart Rider. This is going to be sick, and you got your first ace match, State. It's happening.
I'm excited. You know, I'm glad Hojun should be coming out too, and yet there he
Luning.
is. You called it, Wolf.
They did it.
You know, Sensation, this is a team that I think it was either the first week or the second week, they went to an ace match, and they said in interview that they decided who was going to play for them by playing rock, paper, scissors. And I don't know if that's what happened this time. Maybe we're all just lucky here as fans, or maybe they're bringing out the big guns, because as we said at the start of the show today, this is a must-win match for both of these teams if they want to make it to the postseason. So a lot of pressure on both these players right now. It all comes down to this. 1 track, 2 racers, a 1v1, Hojun versus Luning on Rickety Rails. I cannot wait, Wolf.
It is going to be so hype. Rickety Rails, the final track here in our ace match to decide which one of these teams is taking the W tonight.
And the ace match begins. Luning off to a nice start right there. The New York City tour bus trying to get some body blocking here on Hojun, doing his best to, kind of keep him at bay. But Hojun, one of the legends here of Kart Rider, is not going to be held back. Some fantastic line. They're actually able to cut in between Luning and the wall and take an early lead. But Wolf, as you can see, we're going back and forth, back and forth. This is hotly contested.
Yeah, a lot of attacks actually between these 2 players, but the recovery has been fantastic. Because if you don't actually pull off the wall when you get shoved in like that, instantly, that's it. The race is over, and they both recovered so incredibly well, as Luning is in draft range here of Hojun. So, it's very much going to just be who takes the tighter turns. So we've already moved to our 2nd lap, as Hojun actually has taken back the lead here now. And these are the turns right here where you can make the biggest difference happen if you can actually find that angle of attack. But the blocking has been so good thus far here from Hojun in the 2nd lap.
Yeah, Hojun taking really tight lines here, desperately wants to get out of drafting range for Luning, and he's close to that at times, but, you know, I say that, and Luning with some nice drafting himself, cutting through right there, is hot on the tail here of Hojun, and man, they are neck and neck. It is a fraction of a second. Hojun's body blocking is the only thing saving him from Luning taking first place right now.
Yeah, ooh, Luning actually taking a really aggressive cross here. There was a collision, but he recovers so quickly. But Hojun trying to get some momentum back here. This is insanely close. We're now on our final lap.
Everything on the line here as we're coming down the home stretch. Only a couple hundred meters left to go. Luning is still in first place there, the New York City tow bus. Hojun right behind him. Will he be able to pass? You see him desperately trying to draft, but the body blocking coming up from Luning is too much.
Look at him!
ReBoot in the ace match is going to win here against Sensation, the Emperor, taken down. And Luning with ReBoot is going to add another win to their standings.
All the defensive play there from Luning at the last moment was so clean. Who just took his foot off the pedal? You could see he was defeated in the player cam as well, right when the finish line is crossed. The dichotomy between the old and the new here in Kart Rider Drift. Hojun has got his head in his hands, and Luning is jumping up and down with his teammates. Such a close race. No real errors made from either of these players. You can see in terms of collisions, very few here. But man, it was all Luning at the end. And what a victory here for ReBoot when they needed it most. Now they're 2-2, and this could be the beginning of a rocket back to playoff contention here. And for Sensation, you're now going to have, at best, a negative result here. The best you can get in this regular season is 3-4, and that's assuming you win the rest of your matches. One of the big favorite non-pro teams here. You know, we talk about KWANGDONG, FREECS, and Live Sandbox as the big teams. You've got RO.16, of course, the third. But Sensation is a group of talented players. They have Hojun on this roster, and now he's failed in an ace match here when it was so critical. And, I mean, their chances of going to playoffs are very slim now.
Yeah, but a thrilling win here for ReBoot. You know, this young team, you can see all the energy, all smiles, so hyped up there by that win. Luning coming through in the clutch. So we got a recap here, 3-1 in speed going to Sensation. 1-3 in item, it has been their Achilles heel this entire tournament. And then they're in the ace match. Luning just with fantastic play, you know, coming into today. He's one of those players that says, you know, the New York City tour bus, that's the future. That is the future. And he did it right there.
Yeah.
In the ace match. You know, he took on the minecart, and with some just phenomenal defensive play, you know, he got that lead there at the end of track number 3, and he never gave it up.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, too, because I think some of what happened in those final moments might have been slightly attributed to the longer cart, actually. And
it's possible.
You know, it almost makes me want to go back and watch it, and I definitely will when I get home, take a closer look, because the angles that you have to approach the pass from behind with the minecart are somewhat limited when you're against a longer cart. If you're ahead as the minecart, you feel amazing, but if you're behind, it can be a little bit more difficult to get that final pass through on the last turn of rickety rails.
Yeah, generally the meta here, and especially in speed mode, is, you know, you want to pick the cart with the smallest hitbox, because carts are, for all intents and purposes, otherwise equal. You know, if you're in a minecart, you're going to have less collisions, you're able to take tighter lines, but, you know, Luning coming in there with a tour bus, he's able to take not only those tight turns, but also once he gets that lead, with his control, he's not going to give it up.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. It's like, to put it into words, the difference between winning and losing for this match for both these teams is so massive, because there's one extra game has been played for Sensation, as we talked about before. And so now they've lost their 4th match. So they're 1-4. They played 5 of the 7 matches you get to play, because it's a round robin with 8 teams. Each team plays 7 games. And then on the other side, you have a team that expectations were extremely low on. Everyone was like, okay, I mean, we'll see how they do. Like, some of these players seem very talented. Cosu's come back. How's he going to perform? People were excited for him because he's been one of the staples of Kart Rider for basically the last decade. And his best years were 2019, right? Basically, 2019, you could say like 2018, he was on the rise. But now he's coming back. He's doing well. This team looks really good with him. And it's like expected team to do well versus underdog team that has no pressure. And then they collide in this final match, and now the hope is really high for ReBoot to actually make playoffs. You know, they're competing with the likes of teams like Aura and RO.16 and Planet, I think, in those slots there. And anything can happen. This season, felt like to me, I was like, okay, well, it's preseason, so you have some really strong teams with really strong players, and because the game isn't that figured out yet, they'll probably win the first preseason. It might be like less interesting than when we go into our second preseason, for example.
Right.
But I think that some of these matches we've seen, especially today and on Wednesday, have really like flipped the narrative. You know, anyone could win on the day.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Sensation with 1-4. You got to think that they're going to go back to the drawing board after this preseason, you know, before the KDL officially kicks off. Because as things are right now, this 4-man roster, it is not working out for them. You know, in speed overall, even including the games today, they have a positive win rate in tracks. I mean, that should be translating into success. It should not be translating into what, a 1-3, 1-4 total overall score that we have from them. And, you know, I have to think that at some point, ideally before the next season, they're going to be adding, you know, an item ace to come in here and kind of round things out, because if they have a play caller, like if they pick up, you know, their own kind of banana, then maybe we see them not going to these ace matches where everything's on the line and one mistake is the difference between winning or losing an entire set.
Yeah. They haven't played against Planet yet, so that's one of their final opponents. They've lost to Live Sandbox and KWANGDONG FREECS, right? So no shame in that.
Right.
They beat Aura. Hojun was able to beat Hero in that very clutch ace match. But I think the loss to Finale is the one that stings the most, because that was a team that was winless. You saw the big upset come through there. Once again, in item mode, Banana is able to carry them through. And they were so close to actually winning item mode and preventing the ace. Then they lose the ace, right? And so on some level, you know, you could look at the numbers of Sensation and be like, well, this is a team that's very, very, very hard underperforming. I think that's to a certain extent true, and the item mode is definitely a glaring weakness. But on the other hand, I think a lot of teams are doing better than we expected. And so Sensation's failings, I think, are less about their weaknesses, but rather the strengths of some of the other teams. I think the surprises we've seen so far in KDL, to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, that goes without saying there in the ace matches. You know, if you take on the Emperor and you beat him there, in the final match with everything on the line, I mean, we're talking about somebody with so many Kart Rider League victories, so many championships to his name. You know, the GOAT of OG Kart Rider, undisputed GOAT, coming in. You know, he's experienced there on stage. And you could see from the energy of the team how excited they were, how hyped Luning was to actually go through. You know he must have been nervous coming in there. And guys, we're going to be coming back in just a few minutes with our next team match of the day. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, Kartrider fans. We're heading into our second series of the evening. It's going to be KWANGDONG FREECS against Planet, a matchup that may be more one-sided than our first one, as we have a definite clear favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sensation coming into it today, I thought they might have a slight edge against ReBoot. ReBoot with the Underdog story was able to, clean house there in the ace, but these guys, the KWANGDONG FREECS, are the team to beat right now in the KDL after dispatching Liv's Sandbox. I mean, they are undefeated so far. World, their speed ace has been playing out of his mind. And this is a team, I think the only team here in the KDL preseason where, we ask them their roles and everyone's like, no, I'm a runner, I'm a runner, I'm a runner.
Yeah.
We go fast. And they do. It's a team of aces.
They really are. A team that also works together so well. It's almost like they don't have roles, like you're saying. The teamwork and communication is great. But on the other side, it is going to be Planet, a team that has, I feel like, had some middling results. There's a lot of talent in this roster. They do have an item specialist in Lens. Acid Fly, also a very strong player, I think, coming out and surprising a lot of people, but did not actually qualify for the round of 16, unfortunately, for Solo. So this is what he's got left here in this speed. Is the name of the game for this roster as well. I think that even though they have an item ace, they're not an item specialist team by any means. I think that they need to try to go toe-to-toe with KWANGDONG in the speed mode itself if they want to find success tonight.
Yeah, but that's a David versus Goliath story if I've ever heard one right there. I mean, this team, the FREECS, are just so good. And I love what you said about how, it kind of feels like they're playing positionless Kartrider Drift, because really they can do it all. From top to bottom, whether you're a speed ace, whether you're a runner on this team, you're not going to get past them. If one of these players falls into the middle of the pack, they're going to be sweeping. They're going to be setting up whoever's in the front to secure that win.
Len, shouldn't you repay the help you received so far? Some history between these two teams, of course. And
repay the help.
Yeah.
Of course, today also is Lens's birthday, so we'll see if Team Planet's going to be able to deliver a win for him, because, I mean, gotta tell you, man, if it was my birthday and I was beating KWANGDONG FREECS in Kartrider Drift, I would be feeling pretty good.
I would too. To be the first team to beat this team this season, I mean, if we don't see someone upset KWANGDONG in regular season, like maybe they have a perfect tournament. I mean, I'm not saying it's
possible.
I think the big challenge is with a rematch with Liv Sandbox, right? But we're still a ways away from that. If it does even come to pass, it's not guaranteed. So you can see some of the stats here for the side of Planet, fairly middling. In terms of blocks, though, actually the highest in the league right now. So something that could come to pass here in item mode, but a lot of those stats in items don't always tell the story of how you win. As we talked about earlier, it's really just about that final run where you have one player shooting through to try to actually pass. As this is the birthday present you were looking for. We'll see if it comes to pass here. It is definitely going to be a tough matchup, as you say.
Absolutely, and I like that point that you make about, attacks per minute or blocks in item mode, not necessarily translating into success, because, Planet, as you said, they're not item specialists. They're going to have to try and take the fight here to the FREECS and the speed track list.
Yeah, Terracotta Twister is where we're going to be starting again.
Nice.
Then Boostwood will not actually be banned this time, as they go to Boom Hill Tunnel, Bayside Bridge Run, and Glacier Extreme Stadium. So a more standard set of tracks this time around, with Gold Rush, New York Rally, and then Construction, Chaos, and Rickety Rails banned away.
Always happy to see Terracotta Twister, especially as the first map, get that guaranteed one in.
Yeah.
It has some of my most favorite sequences of turns of any track in the game is right there on Terracotta Twister, and I kind of wish that we saw a little bit more Zigzag Timberland here in speed mode. I know a lot of the English casters aren't a big fan of this track, but at least for me, that sensation that you get trying to navigate those really tight turns there and the inner passage there on Terracotta Twister, I get that sensation on a lot of the sections of Zigzag Pass, but no, we're gonna be dealing with the cards we've been dealt, and today we will be starting out this match between the KWANGDONG FREECS on Terracotta Twister. Will Planet be able to upseat the Giants here as the FREECS are looking to continue their sweep in the speed portion of the KDL preseason? Minshik right now for Planet in the lead, but Sungbin, Spear, and World right behind him.
Yeah, Spear is in my opinion, the most versatile player we have in the entire league right now, and he's the type of player who can be the speed ace, not technically speaking, but functionally can be a fantastic sweeper as well as someone who could even hang back and create disruption in the back line. And that's why I think he's the one that we're observing right now is, you know, obviously we had a bit of a rough start here for KWANGDONG FREECS to start getting the set they want ideally.
A little bit of blocking coming in right there from Planet, and that's going to shake things up there in the middle of the pack as now Mari is going to be leading the charge there along with Sungmin as Cool and Minshik trying to close the distance. Acid Fly right there too. This is a very dense field here in the mid-pack.
Yeah, Mari here still holding onto the lead as a lot of what Minshik is trying to do here is prevent the close of these players, but Acid Fly really being the only one who's close by. So right now, I mean, you're looking at a 1-2 as your win condition for Planet, and Acid Fly becomes such an easy target now as Sungbin and World could just say, nah, we'll just prevent it from coming through, and this is a guaranteed win. We're already halfway through our second lap right now, and something has to change here very quickly for Planet, or this one's all locked up. Even though Mari's in the lead, that's not enough.
Yeah, Acid Fly is going to have to close the distance, and Mari absolutely is going to have to hold down the fort there in first place. The Planet wants to walk away with a win. See a little bit of blocking there from Acid Fly onto Spear. Not trying to let him close the distance as coming into these passes. Oh, Spear, for a second there, it looked like he was trying to push Acid Fly off the ledge, but not going to happen, and Acid just trying to work his way in, but the Freaks right now solidifying their position. Sungmin, World, and Spear 2-3-4.
Yeah, the 2-3-4. Now even the 1-3-4 is too much. As Cool coming through here at the last possible second as well to try to actually push through, but they had the lead the entire time. And it's identifying your win conditions that teams like KWANGDONG and Sensation too, you know, why they're so well known for speed is because they're very good at saying, all right, Mari's in first, but winning first place is the win condition for item mode, okay? It's not the win condition for speed. And having the most points is the most important thing, and they continued to actually prevent the rest of the players from coming over. They knew the only way, if they have 3 players in the top 5 there like that, that the win comes through for Planet is if Acid Fly secures second place, and there's 2 players between him and that happening, so they just make sure he's not able to do it, and that's all they need to do, and it's just a very simple race from there. And I think the start here is so important because Planet had Mari out early, but they couldn't actually win the initial battle there to get multiple players in top 4. And it's about total points at the end of the day.
It is about total points there, and Freaks racking up a lot of them. I mean, 1-3-6, 1-3-5 are also guaranteed wins, so 1-3-4, you're going to be padding that lead a little bit there with track number 1 as we see that blocking that came in here, first lap.
Just look at Acid Fly, you just can't get in.
Yeah, and you know, for Planet, they absolutely needed Mari to hold down that first place position if they were going to have anything happen. I mean, even if Acid Fly can't get into second, at least get that first place. Try to set up for like maybe a 1-3-6 or a 1-4-6-7 or something along those lines there for Planet. But you know, the Freaks are just so good. They're not going to give them any room, and they're going to win track number 1.
Very controlled start here, and our next track as we move into it is going to be Boostwood.
Look at this bunny,
yeah,
man. That's like a pop-out cheerful.
Yeah, we're moving into a pop-out cheerful meta here at the KDL. I'm loving to see it. It's like flip books are coming back as we're jumping into now our second track to see if KWANGDONG FREECS can continue the momentum here or Planet can tie it up as we head to World Tour Boostwood.
And we're off here on Boostwood. We'll see if the Freaks are able to double down and deliver another track win here. As Minshik and Acid Fly right out of the gate is going to be the leading racers here for Planet.
Ooh, unfortunately, Scarlet and Acid Fly with some big collisions there, actually kind of messing up their synergy for a moment, but still, Minshik has secured a top 2 spot. He's dropped down a little bit, but he was actually up the leading pack for just a moment. Is Acid Fly taking a wider turn here to actually try to close the gap using Minshik to draft? Actually great teamwork between the two of them after what was a big error earlier with Scarlet.
Yeah, we'll see if Scarlet and Mari are going to be able to shore up the flank here as they're still sitting in the 7th and 8th spot, and that puts a lot of pressure here on the front racers for Planet. Acid Fly and Minshik, they can't just hang on to 3-5. They have to start contesting those top 2 spots. We see Acid Fly now trying to draft Cool, taking these tight lines as we enter lap number 2. We'll see if he's able to pass
Yeah, but they need Minshik to actually get up there as well, or Acid Fly. As you can see, he's trying to actually take this wider path here and avoid those collisions. So the gap has been closed a little bit right now, but again, it's not enough here. Minshik really needs to pull through, but look at the sweeping here once again from Spear. Oh, that was such a sick block as well. They're just blocked out there on that corner. And Spear is just fantastic at this, man. You put him anywhere, and he's just going to block people out.
Yeah, the Freaks are doing an excellent job of zoning out these middling pack players here for Planet, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make anything happen. Spear, they finally do get past Spear, so at least they have him behind them. But Cool and Sungbin right now in a commanding position here at both positions 1 and 2.
They could get a 2-3-4 here if they can get Acid Fly to pass Cool, maybe push through there. And they're doing it right now. Scarlet, he is so close by.
Yep, it's really close there, but with a 1-3-6-8, by 1 point, the Freaks are going to be able to win this, and that was one of the closer races that we've had so far between here, the Freaks and Planet. Coming into today, we were thinking that the Freaks were just going to be doing a clean sweep here in speed and, going up the first 2 tracks with wins. That is still in the cards, but Planet, they are bringing the fight here to the Freaks.
Oh, no doubt. That second race was definitely much closer than the first one, and those final moments were really critical too, as Acid Fly was so close to actually getting that 2-3-5, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the final moment, right? And we did see, I think, a much better setup here for Planet this time around, where they were actually able to set a coordinated attempt there at the final moments to cross. As Kwangdong coach here is always hyped. They keep putting him on camera, and he's super hyped about it. He's always like, "Yep, thumbs up."
Yeah, for a moment there, it looked like he was surprised to be on camera. And he's like, "Ah!" And then he gets really hyped into it. Yeah, a lot of support here for these players, for the Freaks, coming into the KDL preseason. Them and Sandbox, they were the favorites here.
Now he's acting shy.
I don't even know what's going on there, but, the Freaks, say what you want about Planet making these tracks close. The Freaks are still up 2-0 in speed mode, and if there's any team that's going to be hard to reverse sweep here in speed, it's going to be the Freaks.
No doubt. They might just get the 3-0 here unless we see something turn around here for Planet as we move into Village. Boom Hill Tunnel. Off we go. Match point here in speed for Kwangdong Freaks is a great start here for Planet. But quickly, World and Cool will actually take that top 2.
Yeah, World did a fantastic job of drifting to build up as much nitrous as possible there right on the gates. And you can see that paying dividends here with him and Cool both creating some distance between the rest of these Planet players. And now it's Sungbin instead of Spear doing a nice job blocking out these Planet players. Acid Fly will eventually close the distance. But look, the top 2 here for KDF, they're already out of drafting range.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. This Acid Fly is now dealing with Sungbin, and like you mentioned, it's usually Spear in this position, but Sungbin is actually going to be able to do the same job, and that's the versatility we've talked about so much with this roster. And if he closes the gap here and forces a collision for Acid Fly, it's going to be an even larger lead. Acid Fly, though, taking the risky inner, and that's the punish that Sungbin was looking for this entire time. However,
yeah, Sungbin went for a really greedy block there. Was trying to take all momentum from Acid Fly, but just missed him by a hair. And he didn't get the block in fully. Actually, Spear! And the full spin! What insane block combination! That might just be the track!
Oh man, Spear is insane!
He just came out of nowhere like a homing missile! And that's gonna be delivering the 1-2-3 finish here for FREECS as Spear, like Superman, just emerging out of nowhere to deliver the win.
He just killed Acid Fly. He was like, "You're done.
That was insane.
You've retired. I have taken you out of the race." What an insane play from Spear. A set play as well. He planned it for that exact turn because he knows he has just enough space to do the full spin. Such a sick play from him.
That was wild.
This guy is so talented.
You ever see these like professional pool or billiards players where like they're able to line up the shot with a cue ball and hit like 4 balls in succession to secure the win? It felt like that was Spear. It's like he ricocheted off of 3 different walls and just consistently kept smacking down the players there for Planet, and he also retained enough momentum to secure the 1-2-3 finish there for the Freaks. And probably the most jaw-dropping play I have seen so far here in the KDL. I mean, that was just Wow, like I am beaming right now. I'm glad I'm not on camera because I'm grinning like a fool.
That was insane. And the thing is, Sungbin, when he went for his previous attempt for the greedy block, they had such a lead that if he succeeded, that was also probably just it. Like, it was done. He failed, but Spear's there to back him up. And even if Spear actually doesn't have this sick play, which we're going to take a look at here, by the way, blocks Acid perfectly, goes to the full spin so he can block Mari. He blocks 2 players at once, forces Mari to collide. The rest of the team has to avoid Mari, so then they also have a collision there. He just killed all of Planet's chances in one single play. Absolutely insane. As you can see what happens here from a different perspective, that was just like one of the coolest things I have ever seen in a racing game.
Undoubtedly, at least for me, like nothing tops that. That was just so sick. Because everything has to go perfectly. He has to navigate not only those drifts, but also the ricochets off the walls. He has to have a perfect read on not only where his cart is going to go, but where the opposing carts behind him are going to end up. And just everything went perfectly to plan there for Spear. Phenomenal mechanics, phenomenal game sense to make that play happen, and delivers, you know, the set-winning track there for the FREECS in the most spectacular fashion.
You can see a lot of pressure on Lens here. It is his birthday today, but he is subbed in as the item ace now for Planet, and this is where they're going to have to turn this around. And, you know, it's your birthday, sure, but that doesn't make it any less stressful when you're currently 1 and 2, you drop to 1 and 3, you lose this. Three of these tracks go to Kwangdong, the series is over, right? So a lot of pressure on one particular player who's going to both be the item ace in terms of what he's doing strategy-wise, but also is going to be heavily in the shot calling.
Item track list now coming out for both of these teams. Planet picking track number 1 will be Factory Cogwheel Crush, followed by Gangnam Streets, Glacier Polar Halfpipe, Mind Motherload, and Istanbul Sunset Plaza. We'll close things out if we go to a track 5.
Yeah, it's really common to see Magma Cavern and Mushroom Caves. Actually, we'll see neither of those tracks, so this time around they're both banned. Istanbul is the last one, as we get both Halfpipe and Cogwheel. So this one's going to be chaotic, I imagine, State, and the pressure is on for sure here for Planet.
Cogwheel Crush, everybody's favorite map. Undoubtedly. A lot of precarious positions you can find yourself in here on Cogwheel, especially if you try to take any kind of greedy lines. It's like our map is loading up, the players are getting ready. We'll be able to bring it back here in item mode on Cogwheel Crush. Two-lapper here on Cogwheel Crush is Planet needing to win 3 tracks here in item mode to secure and force an ace match here against the Kwangdong FREECS, looking to have, you know, another win here to just add another star to their lapel.
Yeah, really important that Spear's the one who gets hit by that missile there that was well targeted, because he actually got double magnet, which is great RNG for him early on at the beginning. Totally chaos here. And then if he didn't get hit by that rocket, he could have held the magnet and actually still threatened top 4. As it turns out, he's already got his magnet booster set. He's still maintaining top 3 here. As Minchik only with an Angel here. His first place is definitely not guaranteed right now. Under a lot of pressure, and he will drop back. As a banana is not what he's looking for either.
Banana and Angel, the wombo combo. Exactly what he was hoping for.
Actually, he couldn't really do anything with the banana and the barricade there. There's sometimes synergy with that, but his teammate was behind him, so no play available.
Sungman actually able to take the speed boost right there. Some nice timing as he comes in, and a couple of attacks coming in as well. We'll give Sungbin the lead here as he just holds on to that one nitrous, but we said it time and time again, I almost feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, is really heading into track number 2. It is all about setting up for that wombo combo there at the end. That clutch finish, as we've seen time and time again.
Cool, definitely the one who has the best item setup right now, and he's in such good position here. I say that, though, that's actually a really nicely targeted missile. Sungbin looking like he was trying to block that targeting there, but it still connects with him. So now he's going to have to use this at the last possible second, but he's not in range.
Yeah, Wisp is going to catch that player there right now. Is Cool just continuing to retain both the magnet and the nitrous, sitting in, you know, 4th place, but there's not a lot of distance as you see right here between him and first.
Yeah,
so
just no one else really having the same setup that Cool has. Lens is really the guy. He's the item ace. He's going to have to use it very carefully here. We've got our eyes on him right now. The magnet combo set and ready to go with Minchik in the lead, also holding a shield.
Yeah, but I'm liking this position right now for the FREECS with 500 meters left to go. We'll see if Planet's going to be able to make something happen right now. as the magnets are
Lens.
getting popped, but Lens actually out of the gates just with a massive boost. You called it, Wolf.
He was the one set up for it because he knows that in the final section of Cogwheel Crush, if you actually use both the Nitro and the Magnet, you get a huge burst of momentum. You can actually basically go through the top part of the map and fly over the entire team. Magnet is such a tricky item because both the way you have to use it to actually pull yourself and get the right momentum, you have to use it at the right straightaway or right before a turn, and it's based on what your opponent does because the Magnet is not actually just a free win. Your opponent actually has counterplay where they can move around, try to drag you into walls and stuff like that. But he had it set up really well. And this is what being an item ace means, is to be able to know exactly how on this particular track you're going to pull this out on what was, I believe, a map pick for Planet. Yeah, they chose this one, so he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And the strategies are just evolving here in item mode.
It just continuously gets more complicated. My 2 or 3 brain cells are having a hard time keeping up, Wolf. As you've had a good read today on all these masterminds. I feel like maybe the past 2 or 3 tracks you've been calling pretty much exactly how it's going to shake out here right at the end. As you said, see Lens right there with the Wombo combo, both the Nitrous and the Magnet able to activate that shortcut, get to that finish line.
Neither team also really using, neither team had a player set to actually try to farm storms or UFOs because that's one of the other ways you could stop. It's almost like, if you're familiar with like some card games, it's almost like an OTK move where you're like, if I have this and I drive well, like no one can stop me unless you have the right item. And if you're holding some of the best items when you're near that player, then you also don't have the combo to then cross first. So sometimes it's better to have one player sit back and actually look for a storm cloud, for example, like we saw in our previous series. But neither team doing that this time around.
All right, we'll see if the Freaks are going to be able to bounce back and tie this thing up 1-1 as we're going to World Tour Gangnam Streets.
Off we go. It's time to see if Planet can carry this momentum forward. Lynn's already with a fantastic performance on our first map.
Yeah, Len's playing well. Of course, the item ace there for Planet swapping in here, and goes to show the benefit of having a deep roster with that 5th man who's going to specialize here in item mode. It worked for ReBoot here in, the first match of the day. It's working for Planet so far here against the Freaks, but, the Freaks, if any team can make a 4-man roster work in both speed mode and item mode, it's these guys.
Cool with a shield here to stop the homing water balloon. We'll have a second one set here.
Some fancy drifting coming in there from Scarlet.
He avoids the UFO that way, so I think that's what he wanted to do is actually get out of first. So his teammates got UFO, and he's like, all right, pull back. And I guess that's why he braked there, and maybe he just hit the wall. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
I'm like trying to strategize. I'm like, that one I don't know.
It's tough to call here because, if you see somebody hit a wall or have some sudden loss of momentum in speed mode, oftentimes you think, okay, well, they messed up, or okay, they're trying to sweep the players on the backside of the other team. It's either one of those two things, right? But here in item mode, it feels like we're watching these players play like 40 or even 5D chess.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes when you see somebody slow down an item, you're like, wait, no, there's a reason for sure.
Yeah. Surely it can't be as simple as them making a mistake. Something else is deeper here.
So let's take a look at some of the stock of the items here because Sungbin is holding the, we got to come up with a term for this Magnet and Nitro combo.
It's the Wombo combo, man. I'm telling you.
Let's just call it Nitro Magnet maybe. I don't know.
That doesn't roll off the tongue.
I know. We'll figure something out, but we got to come up with a term for this because it is the meta, and he is holding it right now. World is also holding this, so this is a really huge opportunity now for him to close this one out. He's in such good position.
You say that, but we have 3 or 4 players who are trying to work into having that Magnet Nitrous combo coming into lap number 3 here.
Storm here from Inshik actually at the last stretch of this could be huge. Going to force out an Angel.
Angel Shield does get popped. Planet right now holding on to 2 Angel Shields, I believe, as we're entering the home stretch here on track number 3. World will get caught there by the UFO. 400 meters left to go.
Spear.
Magnet's getting popped right now. We'll see who's able to lead. The charge right now is it's actually going to be cool with some aggressive attacks coming in there by the Freaks. They're going to set him up there for the finish by just a hair, and the Freaks are going to tie this up 1-1 here in item mode.
Very close, though, and I'd love to see a replay of that final moment because it looked like what Spear actually did because he realized with the setup he had, he wasn't actually going to be able to go first. He actually just diagonally went to the left to actually cut off anybody he could. And then as that was happening, Cool just boosted to the right side where he wasn't going to have any collisions with anybody. As we had Angels flying, some defensive items there, but ultimately this was just kind of a, let's see if we could force them back.
Yeah. 1/10 of a second separating Cool from victory and defeat there as, you know, that track felt a little bit different from the previous ones where, you know, oftentimes we see these teams, it feels like they're setting up for some really big combination play with Angels, with UFOs, with Thunderbolts, and then maybe 1 or 2 guys up there in the front with Magnets and Nitros, but you know, it almost felt like the entire field was kind of gunning for it right there at the end, and it was hard to figure out exactly how things were shaking out, but the Freaks getting the better trade there at the end of the day, tying things up 1-1. 2 map wins away from winning this series as we move on to Glacier Polar Halfpipe. And we're off here on Halfpipe. Freaks needing 2 tracks to win this series. Planet needing 2 tracks to force an ace match.
Really, really tense here. Hey, you mentioned the last race. It felt like there was a lot less of a set play there at the end. I think a lot of it was bound to the lack of combos for most of the players. And also, Gangnam Streets is a track where there's not a lot of complex things you can do with your items like we saw on Cogwheel Crush, where you like literally fly over the finish line. So I think that's part of it. But right now, pretty good control here for Cool and Spear. All those rare moments where having a banana actually can be quite useful here defensively, especially in narrow choke points like this.
Yep, Len's gonna avoid that banana. You know, those water wisps make it a lot easier when you're moving at 1 mile an hour. Very easy to actually avoid getting hit by that one. But Cool right now, he's in a pretty fantastic position, leading the charge by quite a bit.
This is the water bomb central to this map because it's basically impossible to avoid. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's going to cost you a lot of speed. It's Cool since he had double shield. Made a huge gap between himself and the rest of the roster, but able to avoid a lot of those items. But now Scarlet has actually passed him here, and he's the only one up in the front here for Kwangdong Freaks Planet. Just trying to get a player here with Magnet Nitro.
Yep, looks like some barricades might have struck Scarlet there, as the field right now is very dense here at the front of the pack. Another water wisp coming out. Will get avoided there for just a moment.
Scarlet holding onto the Nitro here and a shield. I mean, this is a very, very close race right now, as it's very difficult to use the Magnet on that final turn.
Ooh, water balloon coming out. Does get avoided there by Scarlet, so Scarlet going to maintain that lead right now with a Nitrous and a shield.
Yeah, Scarlet with some really great dodges actually gets to keep the shield, and that's exactly what you want. As Minshik is actually now pulling ahead here with that Magnet Nitro combo. So
one of these players actually looks like the item ace Lens in World coming up here on the shortcut here in the final lap. Going to be trying to contest this. Lens does have a Nitrous World with no items to his name. Now just picks up a shield. That is not what you want with 300 meters left to go.
Minshik here has the opportunity, though, to try to pull ahead. Magnets boosting. Acid actually going to take the lead here. Acid at the final moment is going to take it.
One of our slower finishes there is it felt like almost nobody close to the finish line really had the items they needed.
Yeah, my take on this is that, so it's half pipe, right? So it's very narrow, so it's more difficult to actually just boost and nitro magnet and nitro your way to the finish line because you're just going to collide into the other racers. But Acid Fly was just up in the front without any items, so I'm like, okay, someone's going to pass him for sure, right? Because we didn't actually have the wider shot there.
Right.
But no, actually he just crosses the finish line, and that's match point here for item mode now for Planet.
Yeah, Planet only 1 track win away from forcing an ace match there against the Freaks, which is their best bet. And Planet making a good show of it. You know, Freaks, they're absolutely speed mode specialists, but this is a stacked roster, perhaps the most stacked roster we have here in the KDL preseason. So, you know, for Planet going up 2-1 here in item mode, you got to feel a little bit of momentum shifting in their favor.
Oh, definitely. And all it takes is one ace match to actually upset the Freaks here if they're able to force it. And so taking it into the next map, which is Kwangdong Freaks' map choice, Mind Motherload, it's going to be very critical to watch this again. Magnet actually targets Lens, so Acid Fly actually still is just able to pull to this right side there and pass because they had so much control of top 3. No one can block, so when you're magneting, you're rocketing forward, but you're also pulling somebody back at the same time, but they only had 1, so getting the replay there, you could see it was just like, well, it can't pull both of them back.
Yep, Planet able to convert that into a win right there, as we are one track away from forcing an ace match. Will we have a second one today? Continue breaking the caster curse as we go to Mind Motherland.
Round 4 of item mode is underway here. Planet on match point in items to force that potential ace match, as Mind Motherload has a very small and narrow choke point at the start of the race. You can see who is getting ahead here is Lens and Acid Fly. They're the two that actually break out from the start very well.
Yeah, things can get messy here in a hurry on Mind Motherload right now, as Sungbin with a banana and a UFO EMP leading the charge right there, as we might see that quickly turn hands here with Scarlet now picking up the nitrous, and actually no, gets caught by a water wisp, so the Freaks solidifying their position here in lap number 1.
It's very rare to see a team actually hold on to EMP and try to get a huge lead. Like, this is a pretty massive lead in terms of item mode here. And Sungbin is so far away that the only thing that can really threaten him is something like a lightning or the UFO itself. So he held the EMP for a while. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, that actually does hurt a lot, especially considering the lead that Sungbin has right now, and a shield as well.
The Freaks are playing this like speed mode. They're like, hey, let's build the lead. We have got 2 shields for Sungbin. Spear's gonna sweep. They're like, we're not playing item mode, we're playing speed.
That is really what it feels like, but Planet able to close the distance right there with some nice attacks, and it's gonna be Scarlet, Acify, and World leading the pack right now as we're in lap number 2, and man, item mode, these things shake up so quickly here as we see Spear now, holding on to that Angel Shield, does have a magnet as well.
Yeah, UFO gonna get tossed out here as well. Spear back in first here. They have an Angel here, but they do not have the magnet setup they're looking for. Cool holding on to 2, but it's gonna be very difficult to utilize those, as here comes a Storm. Gonna be Angeled.
Yep, final lap here, the Freaks once again in a lead. Sungbin trying to do a little bit of sweeping actually here in item mode and slowing down Les as the Rocket will take him out. See Sungbin and Cool here on the flank, just trying to come in with any attacks possible. Do not let Planet build up those items that they need, as Spear and Cool, they're just continuing to lead the charge right now, but this magnet's going to close the distance very quickly, and he even has another one in the bag.
Yeah, they do. Spear below here now, ground, only with the Nitro. So much control to Planet right now. They've almost got this in the bag, but here comes World, but he's got no items. Okay, I take it back. He does have magnet.
He only had that one magnet, though. What else is he going to be able to pick up with 200 meters left to go? World has no items to his name, and Planet, it looks like they will be able to force yet another ace match. 3-1 win there for Planet, as things just did not go the Freaks' way when the item draws.
Yeah, they certainly did not. Really nice attempt there from World with this magnet coming through, but he's instantly UFO'd, and the item inventories of Planet were just stronger there, and they had more in the tank. Very, very close race, and that was honestly one of the most chaotic item modes I've ever seen on Motherload, but ultimately now we're going to the ace match, so we have to have a conversation about who's going to come out, as we did see World chosen for KWANGDONG FREECS. He's their speed ace now last time around, and he was able to beat Neil. Now, a lot of people will remember that match as Neil making one critical mistake, but World was able to win regardless. I think you can put a lot of trust in him. Acid Fly, on the other hand, for Planet, was chosen last time and failed against Jong. So I still think you go with Acid Fly here, though, to be honest. I think he's the strongest player. Mari's had a good day today, and he's the other speed player you're really looking at here, but I'm leaning towards Acid Fly.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's got to be Mari or Acid Fly for Planet. Acid Fly, the speed ace, obviously the favorite here to be picked, as Planet does want to deliver a win for Lens, their item ace's birthday. But, hard thing about doing this against the Freaks is that the Freaks can really just choose anybody on their roster and have a fair chance of winning. I mean, this is a team with 4 aces, more or less. You got World, Cool, Spear, and Sungbin. We're continuing to await the selection here for the KWANGDONG FREECS.
It will be Rickety Rails again, so the same track that we had in our previous series. So that's the one we're heading to here. A track that really does test, I think, a lot of short drift, more than longer drifts, and you have to really be aggressive with your attacks on this to find successes. We're going to watch the replay of these final moments. Good Angel usage here from Cool. But you will see the UFO coming out onto World at the last possible second is really what turns the tide here after he uses his magnet.
Yeah, it certainly did feel that way. And I got to say, I kind of love the approach here from the Freaks. It didn't work for them, but it was kind of thrilling to see a team try to play item mode like it was speed mode for the first 2 or 3 laps. you know, they didn't really have the team synergy there at the end to finally, you know, deliver that combo that's going to propel them across the finish line. But it was still really fun to see.
Yeah, it was really cool because they basically just said we're the better driving team, and so we're going to be able to force this through. And they stacked double shield as well, so it looks like, okay, Sungbin, he's unbreakable, but eventually you're going to run out of defensive options with homing missiles and clouds and stuff going on. All right, let's find out who's going to be our aces here, though, because this is what it's all coming down to. We could see it all comes down to basically a best of one ace match. If World can't deliver, if he's the ace, then maybe KWANGDONG FREECS take their first loss of the season in another upset here if Planet can do this.
Could be a day of upsets. Anything can happen in an ace match, as we saw earlier today, and we've seen throughout the tournament. So we're waiting to hear who the players will be from each of these teams. Of course, I'm right there with you, thinking Acid Fly, probably the favorite there from Planet. And, you know, same thing with the FREECS. I'm expecting it's going to be World. And actually, no, Sungbin coming out here for the FREECS against the speed ace Acid Fly.
Sungbin has been, I think, a player that has really improved quite a bit. I mean, he's always been very good, but I think within this season, he has really become such a critical part in the teamwork of team speed. And he's actually been one of the more successful runners, and his performances so far, I think, warrant giving him an opportunity here, even though we saw World last time. Acid Fly is going to have to do what he could not do against Jong here going into this one. I'm nervous, man. I think we might actually see that upset come through.
Would be thrilling to see it. So looks like our players are getting ready. A 1v1 to decide it all here between the FREECS and Planet. Who will emerge victorious as we move on to Mine Rickety Rails?
Ace match time. One of these two players is going to bring their team to victory. Will it be KWANGDONG FREECS taking their 4th win of the season, or is Planet going to upset and give them their first loss? We're about to find out.
Yep, loving this race right out of the gates here for Sungbin, taking a bit of a wider turn there, building up some more drift. Continues to draft right there behind Acid Fly, and a little bit reminiscent of our first ace match today with how hotly contested it is. Both these players in drafting range.
Yeah, Acid is keeping a very, very close watch on Sungbin's approach angle here. Knows he's sweeping. Even in a 1v1, you can actually do that and prevent these passes. Look at that collision there. He set it up to actually maintain that distance. He's still in draft range, so Sungbin finds an angle.
Yeah, Sungbin finding the inner angle there on that line is going to be able to take the lead right here, and now the roles are reversed. Sungbin here is going to be trying to play defensively and not let the drafting Acid Fly close the distance.
A draft going to come through here from Acid. Sungbin, can he defend? Yes, he can. Oh, great play,
man.
But good recovery there, too, after the collision. This is so close.
Yeah, that collision losing a little bit of momentum there for Sungbin as we just continue to trade places here. Neck and neck as Sungbin with yet another nice block there. And his rear view mirror going to try his best to continue to cut off Acid Fly from any passing, but Acid Fly taking this inner line right here. Going to be able to get a lead just for a moment.
Yeah, really greedy boost there from Acid on the inner, actually finding himself a little bit behind in terms of Nitro now, but he does maintain the lead. If he can play defensively in the last part of this lap, they can get the upset win.
Oh, and he's playing defensively well right now. Acid Fly with some nice body blocks coming in again. Sungbin desperately trying to take the outer line, and he's able to get it right now. Nitro's coming in, 200 meters away from the finish line. Sungbin in commanding position, and the FREECS are going to continue their winning streak. Another undefeated win here as they win the ace match. Sungbin coming through in the clutch.
Such a close race, but ultimately that tiny bit of extra Nitro there was enough to keep him in first. He gets that final pass and then blocks him out in what is that last turn, that one opportunity. You have to take the outer line with a Nitro and pass. Very difficult to defend there, but he pulled it off. But no shade against Acid Fly. He played extremely well, too, in this final ace match. And two very close ones, because his ace match against Jong that he also lost against Rocks when they faced off against each other was also very, very neck and neck. But KWANGDONG FREECS do maintain supreme control, and if you're a Live Sandbox fan, you're also frustrated with how close this was because after the upset win there, this is as close as it's been for KWANGDONG FREECS to lose a series, and the fact that they are able to solidify this win means that the gap is still there, and to get first place in the regular season is going to be so much tougher now for Live Sandbox.
Yeah, but I mean, Planet, if you're a Planet fan, you got to be happy with this performance no matter what, forcing an ace match here against the FREECS, and then Acid Fly coming through in the clutch. almost a redemption story from the previous ace match, but just going neck and neck right there down to the finish line against Sungbin. FREECS just barely eking it out as, you know, they showed that they can bleed here in this series. They're still undefeated. But, you know, if a team like Planet can come this close to winning, the FREECS are going to be hard-pressed to continue this perfect record.
I think a lot of this for Planet was Lin's performance, right? He came in, he looked very stressed out, he looked very much under pressure, but he performed very well, especially that first track. When we jumped into item mode, he did extremely well there. The shot calling was good, and I think, you know, as awkward as it is to have a birthday dinner on a lost day, I think at least he's definitely going to be the one who is getting a lot of praise during said birthday dinner after tonight's matches. So this puts, as you said, Kwangdong FREECS in a 4-0 solid first right now. Liv Sandbox, they can definitely pass Aura in their next matchup. That's very highly contested who's second place right now, but Kwangdong FREECS is just that one extra win ahead.
Yep, Planet on the cusp of breaking into top 4 right now. They're going to be needing to win their next couple of matches to solidify that. But the FREECS feels like at this point, basically a lock for the postseason, trying to continue to keep the perfect Team League dream alive as they only have 3 more matches left to go here in the round robin first stage. If they can go 7-0 heading into the postseason, man, that would be a great storyline to follow.
Yeah, the Sandbox still yet to play their 4th match, and that's why you see that discrepancy there between them and Aura. So, going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out as we move into those matches tomorrow. But very exciting, close 2 series we had today. But for me, like as hype as those were, the real show is yet to come because we have a stacked group of solo matches coming up after this.
Yeah, the round of 16 is about to kick off right now. You know, we had some pretty heavily skilled groups in Group A and Group B in the round of 32. And, you know, we've kind of thinned the herd a little bit. The best of the best, the cream of the crop now here heading into the round of 16. And it should be thrilling. You know, we have a lot of very good players racing here today. Some that were even racing earlier today in the team matches.
Yeah, Luning, one of those standout players for me. InSoo is going to be playing today, so that's a really exciting thing to watch. A lot of people really love InSoo's play. He's very popular here.
World and Cool as well, also making the roster. I think those are probably the 4 favorites to emerge. And of course, today being the round of 16, this is not, you know, a do or die match for these players. It's not if you win, you advance, and if you lose, you go home. Because now that we're in the top 16 here in the solo portion of the KDL preseason,
it's double elimination.
Double elimination.
Yeah.
So if you win, you're going to be getting a better seeding. You're going into the winner's bracket. If you lose, you know, you're not out just yet. You have 1 more life going into that loser's bracket. So the pressure not going to be quite as high as it was there in the round of 32, but the competition certainly going to be more fierce.
And that's the cool thing about this group in particular is because this group is so stacked, we will have to send some players to the loser's bracket who you don't want to send if you're a fan of these players, but because the rest of the players who go to that loser's bracket will also have been defeated players from the other group, you feel pretty good about your chances to actually move on anyways. But if you win today, then you get to avoid all of that entirely and just go straight to the winner's matchup. So you still have an extra life, and you can carry that into arguably potentially a tougher group. It's hard to imagine, though, a group tougher than the one we're going to have today. So it's going to be really interesting to see who performs the most consistently, because it's always about who's the best and who wins. It's about who actually gets consistent top placings and picks up those podiums.
Yeah, oftentimes the players that we see advancing in the round of 32 was not the player that was winning every single track. It was the player that was getting a podium, you know, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
It's the player that's consistently delivering on results that are going to net them the points because, you know, it is a race to 50 points. It's a cumulative thing. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And, you know, with some of the upsets that we've seen today, you know, Planet almost taking down the FREECS. You got to think that some of the underdogs here, they might be able to come out with that consistent performance and upset some of our favorites here in the first group of the round of 16.
I think we definitely could see it. Players like Summer, for example, who are very young. Summer is 16 years old. He's extremely young, born in 2007. He is very talented, had a great run in his own group earlier on in the tournament. Great qualifier run from him as well. A player that I think a lot of people aren't keeping their eyes as focused on, but certainly one to look out for tonight.
Yeah, World, another one of those favorites, came through with the qualifiers in perfect fashion, I believe, and then absolutely did not underperform there in one of the groups of death coming here into the round of 16. So it should be a lot of fun heading into this final match, man.
Yeah, I think so. We're also going to have some really cool special stats. Like now that we've seen these players play both in team speed for quite a bit of time, but also they've gone through their groups. There's a lot more data, so going to kind of hype them up. I think a little bit better than just saying, "Hey, this is what they did in qualifiers." It's a new game, you know, so it's a little bit different. But now we actually have some specific data and stats we can show you guys. So we're looking forward to doing that a little bit later on. So tell your friends, Solo is starting soon.
Yeah, get out there on social media, get on Discord, get on MySpace, you know, all those cool sites the kids are using these days. Let people know that KDL is live with English coverage for the first time, you know. Send them a link, get them tuning in, get your friends to tune in. These are the best racers in the world. Yeah, they deserve all of the coverage that they're getting.
Yeah. Shout outs to the Kartrider Drift official Discord where we've chatted with a few of you guys there. You guys have been really friendly and nice and discussing the matches and getting hyped for them. So just want to give a special shout out to those guys who are, coming in and watching every single night and getting hyped and taking a look at the players. And it's been a great community to be a part of. So really glad that we're growing here as our first global broadcast for Kartrider ever in the history of Kartrider.
It's nice, you know, to be at the beginning of something new like this. And as you said, now that we've actually had these players play through the round of 32 and play for a good number of matches there in the team league, we're able to get kind of an idea of where these players stand in terms of the statistics and stuff like that. So, guys, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, that highly coveted solo speed match, you don't want to miss it. See you soon.
Welcome back. It's time now for our solo matches here. It's our first round of the round of 16, and we have 8 fantastic players coming together here. It's not a labeled group like Group A, B, C, or D. It's technically round 1, but it's kind of a group of death here, to be honest with you, State.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Stacked from top to bottom. We got a quick overview here of the solo matches. Round of 32 was the top 4 of each group moved on to the round of 16, bottom 4 eliminated. Now it's double elimination, which means basically every player, you have 2 lives. If you don't make it out of your group, then, you know, you got 1 more chance. So a little bit less at stake here in terms of, you know, do or die, win or go home. But the competition is going to be fierce, and I guarantee you every single one of these players, they want to be emerging from today a victor because you do not want your tournament life to be on the line going into next week.
Oh, definitely not. So today we're doing match 1, and so as a result, you can see this stacked lineup. You have players like InSoo here, Summer, one of the dark horses, Luning, who's honestly my pick as a dark horse in this tournament. You have Cool, as you mentioned earlier. World is doing fantastically. HyunSu has been great in solo. I think we have a few underdogs, right, in Chorong, for example. But here are the stats for the victors, of course, of the round of 32.
Yeah, Neil impressing people a lot there in Group B. Just played out of his mind.
16 points ahead of second place.
Yeah, just phenomenal stuff from Neil, which is, you know, what you expect from the best global player in kart rider history. And HyunSu also with a very tight finish right there, won the group of death in Group A by just 1 point. You know, spectacular stuff. World and Speed also rounding things out. World has been very consistent so far overall. I think he finished top 4 in maybe every single round of round of 32 Group C, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're top 4, if you're like podium or close to podium every single time, yeah, you're going to be advancing. You're going to be very happy with your performance as we have this nice, very cool graphic here showing kind of the round performance of each player and their path to becoming victors.
Yeah, notice that Speed really needed to pull it off in those final 2 rounds. As if you're watching this, you might also be confused as to why Speed has played an additional round. It's because the solo match ends when the first player reaches 50 points. So in Speed's group, Group D, that didn't happen for an additional race. So he played an additional round there. As you can see, the best records of these players as well across the track. So I mean, you'll see that InSoo is on multiple here. HyunSu, like, it's a Live Sandbox filled track record here. As these players are so individually talented. HyunSu's picked up Facility 5. Neil got Rio de Nitro. I always say that name wrong. Extreme Stadium picked up by InSoo. And you can see, like, some of the players for KWANGDONG FREECS, like Perfect and Sungbin here, also doing very well individually. So it's a stacked lineup of players we have.
Yeah, Sandbox having 5 of the top 11 tracks actually stands out to me a lot. As you said, they're just absolutely fantastic. And right here we have today's matchup. An obvious yet intriguing drama versus anti-cliche. A twist-filled drama. Which ending do you expect, Wolf?
Yeah, and it's that these 4 players on the left side of your screen are the favorites to get out, and you have players like Luning, right, and Summer who've done very well, and you're like, okay, well, they definitely could get out.
Yeah.
But the other line that's drawn in terms of just expectations based on individual performances is 2 pro teams in Live Sandbox and KWANGDONG FREECS versus teamless amateur players who came through the qualifying rounds. And that's really the line we're drawing here in terms of who is expected to get out. But we could definitely see an upset here. Now we're going to take a look at these players more closely, some of their individual stats. As notice HyunSu, his podium percentage is the highest in the league. What podium percentage means is your top 3 percentage. How many times did you get top 3 in each and every race?
And 75% is just phenomenal there for HyunSu. He's going to be wearing the yellow stripes right here. The first seed coming in. And World right behind him. And the black stripes. Second seed telling himself to stay focused, stay calm, advance. He is 3rd, of course, overall in average points. So another player to contest with here is World, another favorite to advance.
Yeah, the pinnacle of consistency, absolutely. Always top 4, and that's the cutoff line, so that's where you want to be. As InSoo also has the #1 first place finishes, actually more than Neil, in fact, as 4 of those. Pretty insane. He also has 2 records, as we mentioned, in terms of the actual track record.
His mantra is, I will entertain you, and I can guarantee you, Wolf, that he will. This guy is one of the fastest racers in the world.
Cosu coming back. after returning from military service. Hasn't had a great run since 2019, but people are saying he's returned to form. He's also tied for first in terms of that podium percentage we were talking about. 3 out of 4 races, he makes top 3.
Yeah, and those 4 are probably the favorites here to advance out of this group into the winner's bracket. As we take a look over here at the players coming in a little bit later, Summer, the 5th seed here, will be wearing the purple stripes, averaging 5.13 points.
Yeah,
in trouble for the exam.
He's got a test next week, and
I
he's
keep forgetting this kid is so young, born in 2007. It's like, yeah, dude, you're actually juggling school and kart rider drift. I mean, the dedication it takes for him to be here and be performing as well as he is just
says
admirable.
I'm gonna advance that thing you said there, or had it there, is he doesn't have any notable top finishes, but he was pretty consistent. One of the underdogs in this group for sure, though, as I think most people are not expecting him to advance tonight. And then Luning, who is a player for me that I think has been so fantastic in team speed. He's been so consistent. He's one of the better team players, but he had a lot of track records early in the season. He no longer holds some of those records, but he came out of the gate very, very well. Won the ace match tonight, so he is riding a high. He's riding that momentum of winning his team's matchup for ReBoot in the series against Sensation earlier. The guy's got a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, finished 3rd place in Group A, just barely ahead of this guy right here, Cool, who's not going to mess around. This time he will be using 6062, and I'm actually glad he brings this up because we do have a little bit of a shakeup here in the kart builds overall. So HyunSu, World, Summer, Chorong, Luning, and Cool, they're all rolling 6062, which is about as standard as it gets here for the karts. But interestingly, InSoo is rolling with a 3263, which is a combination that I personally have not seen yet in the KDL, and Cosu running a 5162 as actually hold that thought, Wolf. I think we're almost ready to go into track number 1. Glacier Snowbound Slopes here is where we're going to kick it off. Who will come out in first?
And off we go. This is the first track. Everybody's set at 0 here as we see some aggressive cutting attempted here by InSoo. He's at the back of the pack right now as the track narrows.
Yep, Summer in the lead right now, as well as HyunSu. And Luning just kind of leading the charge as we come into some really tight turns right here. These hairpins are very precarious. You do not want to get caught into a situation where you are colliding with your fellow riders. So it's a very fine line you have to walk between taking the most greedy possible angle coming into these turns and also avoiding those collisions, like as we saw Summer right there with World, trying to avoid anything that can kill your momentum.
Yeah, InSoo here, some increased boost time with this setup as well. His cuts, which is what we call snaking off, obviously in the Western community, is actually trying to build up some extra nitros and now kind of introduce sweeping style. His goal, I think, with this setup is to just consistently be top 4. He's not looking to necessarily get any first place finishes because he doesn't have that additional max speed with this setup. But see if he can maintain that top 4, because right now it's working out for him.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we were speculating a little bit during the break as we entered the ski lift right here, about what InSoo's game plan is here, rolling with a 3-2-6-3, and our conclusion was that this is maybe more a little bit about what you just said, consistency. It's not necessarily about winning any single track, as we see InSoo actually fighting for a top 2 right now.
Yeah, and that extra acceleration he has with this setup means that every collision affects him less than other players, but you could see he will struggle against someone like Cool, who's running the full max speed at 6, because his kart could just simply go faster over time.
Yeah, but with the only kart with a 6.3 in boost, he does have the best boosts as well.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic we have. Curious to follow that storyline there for InSoo right now is Cool. The second lap in a commanding position here. Nobody even in drafting range, so really it feels like it's a battle just for the podium.
Yeah, InSoo actually maintaining second place here as we're getting very close to the end of this ski slope here for our final lap. He just continues to attack because he knows he has the better acceleration. Every time he bumps, he's going to win that trade every single time with the acceleration. And he's doing it so incredibly well here. He might actually be able to secure the second spot, but they avoid the collisions now. As we widen here, he's just barely able to hold on to that lead.
Yeah, and keep in mind that he has the longest duration boosts here as well, so World will be able to pass him InSoo fighting to maintain that top 3 spot as the finish line just 100 meters away. Cool, of course, will secure that first place. And World right behind him, InSoo in third. And I think for InSoo, I mean, this is kind of according to plan. You want to play for consistency. You want to play for top 4 going to that winner's bracket. And just kind of spectacular stuff there.
Yeah, the thing is, he clearly prepared for what he wanted to do with this kart setup, the 3-2-6-3, and the way he was constantly forcing collisions, and then the second that he knows that the track is going to widen and they're going to boost around him, he takes the inner line because he knows he's not going to be competing against them anymore. Like, he's playing it very well. I didn't see who it was. It might have been Cosu, yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but someone had a really bad collision there at the end and dropped massively in the standings, so really unfortunate there. We might see it in a replay, we might not, but somebody should have placed better, it looked like, than they did, and actually had a really rough end to the track. So these things do happen in the chaos of the final moments. But yeah, I mean, our focus has been simply on InSoo because of his performance with this unusual setup, but World and Cool both playing incredibly well with the standard as well.
Yeah, World and Cool leading the pack right now is, you know, it feels like we don't really have any upsets so far here after playing track number 1. Of course, this is a race to 50 points. So once we reach those 50 points, we'll see exactly where the standings shake up and determine who's going to go to the winner's bracket, who's going to fall to the loser's bracket. As Wolf, we're getting ready for track number 2. Let's move on to Village Boom Hill Tunnel. And we're off here in track number 2. Cool looking to add on to his already impressive lead. Although Luning, Summer, and World gonna make that tougher in here, leading the pack out of the gates.
And with these aggressive cuts here from InSoo to try to build some additional nitro, because of the extended boost timer that you mentioned, he actually gets about 50% more value than the standard with that. So he needs to be consistently doing that, and so far he's done a great job of it here. Look at how aggressively he actually pushes through these narrow choke points where he's looking like he actually wants to force drafts and then collide with people if they try to challenge him, because he's like, I win that trade, I pass you, I have better acceleration, and then you fall further behind, I win. So now that it's widened his gap between the other players, you can see the difference in max speed here is definitely against him.
Yeah, but, you know, in races such as this, there are so many micro collisions that happen as you see people try to take these inner kind of lines that, you know, it really is kind of playing into his hand as we see World taking the left route here. We'll net him 3rd place coming into the second half of this map as Luning and Cool rounding it out in 1st and 2nd place. Cool really off to a great start here in the solo speed section of today's races.
Yeah, Luning here moving up to 1st, but a big collision, and now it's just Cool against the World, man. He's just up here easy peasy, and it's a fairly short race. It's a single track race, but at the end, I mean, he just doesn't really hit anything. He's not playing aggressively because he has such a huge lead, and he's just driving slowly. He's not even drifting on all of these turns because he's just cutting as the crow flies between these corners, just going, I've got max speed here, and no one can actually challenge him. And the cool thing about this for Cool is that InSoo is actually trying to aggressively collide non-stop and look for those attacks. And if Cool doesn't get hit and he gets a slight lead, then his lead actually kind of starts to compile on itself.
Right.
As he's further away from InSoo's aggressive playstyle. InSoo does end up taking 5th place and will only get 3 points this time around. So a pretty big gap as Cool gets back-to-back 1st places here.
Yeah, Cool off to just a spectacular start. And, you know, coming into today, he was one of the players that I had my eyes on because of around 32, it felt like Cool kind of had a lot of highs and lows. He got 1st place in one track, he got 2nd place 3 more times, but besides that, almost every single round, he was kind of close to the bottom of the rankings. He wasn't very consistent, and that's why he only advanced in 4th place in his group. But, you know, right here, right now, first 2 tracks in round of 16, which is undoubtedly more competitive than the round of 32, he's won both tracks. So Cool got to be feeling very confident. If he can continue to show this consistency, he might be wearing the yellow stripes.
Yeah, and we might have our first perfect solo group. Like, it hasn't happened yet. It's happened in qualifiers, but it actually hasn't happened in Kart Rider Drift League yet. So we're still 3 races away from that happening, but it could happen, right? And to have it happen twice already is 2/5 of the way there. And as we move into this 3rd one, we'll see if that consistency is going to continue. Chosen Factory Facility 5. Let's see if that momentum continues as we move into our 3rd race. track 3, we're off here. And cool, back-to-back wins here, but it's World again who starts off the leader.
Yeah, World starting strong, and HyunSu right now only in 6th place, but make sure you keep your eyes on him because he is currently the KDL record holder on this map. This one lapper here on Facility 5 is see InSoo once again contesting podium spots right here with this creative build. I love to see it.
Yeah, I really love seeing stuff like this, the strategy that comes through. He said he wants to entertain people, and so far he has been. I love that he takes the wide angle here too, and everybody drifts earlier. He's actually going to get a lot of momentum now, but he needs to actually catch a draft here, or Cool will eventually pull ahead once again.
Yeah, Cool's in position to strike for yet another 1st place right now, only in 2nd place to World, as he's in drafting distance, and with this collision will barely get the edge of him just for a moment. They were losing some momentum there with the collisions. As we're halfway now through this track, tight shortcut coming in here, and oh, that was a bad collusion there for Cool, so he's going to fall all the way down into 8th place.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting the 3 back-to-backs here this time around. I think the chances are very slim. It's a one-lap track here as World is now here in first, challenging with Chorong. As Chorong's having his best performance so far of this solo group, but can he get this pass here? He does so far. 400 meters to go. He needs to be defensive here. I think he's got this under control.
Yeah, we'll see if World's able to make a Hail Mary pass right now as he actually gets just enough speed to pass Chorong there and deliver 10 points. As Cool gonna finish there in 7th, Luning in 8th place, and I mean, World adding 10 points to 7. I'm not
massive.
a mathematician, but that is 17, and he's gonna be a lot more comfortable right there in the top 4. As, you know, the middle of the pack right now, obviously Cool having, you know, the run of his life over here through the first 3 tracks, but top 4 is the threshold between determining whether you're going to be advancing into the winner's bracket or into the loser's bracket. So in a moment, we'll get another chance to look at those standings, and World padding a little bit of his lead.
Yeah, Luning, I think, really underperforming here at the start of this as well. Like, he and Summer both haven't had a great start. Cosu's had his moments here, but Luning almost retired that race. Like, he was about a 1.5 seconds off of retiring, and that's -5 to your score. If that happens, that's extremely rare. It hasn't happened yet at all in our tournament. It's just, that's another storyline here of one of my dark horse picks for this group who just isn't playing well so far. On the other side, Chorong, I think, is overperforming. He's playing very well in these first few tracks himself. So the standings definitely shaking up, I'd say half as similarly as you expected, but there have been some confusing results thus far. As we're going to move into Forest Zigzag Timberland here to see who's going to take the lead in our solo match. Off we go. Cool still in the lead despite a rocky 3rd track here with the 20 points.
A lot of zigzagging here as he's trying to build up as much nitrous as he can. We'll see if he's able to leverage that and close the distance between 4th and 1st place as he passes one player already. But Chorong continuing this great run that he's had so far today, fighting here in the top 3 spots.
Yeah, InSoo is going to lose this control a little bit longer, or a little bit in a moment here is what I'm trying to say. Words are hard because of his lack of max speed here, but he held onto it very well from the gates of this map where you have such a narrow track. It's really easy to get a lead early with that acceleration, and he's actually holding on to it pretty well here. He has been passed by Luning now, but keeping himself in top 2 and using that extra draft speed here from Luning to kind of counterbalance some of that lack of max speed.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Being able to draft right here as InSoo is phenomenal because he's able to make up for having a little bit of a lesser build in terms of top speed, as we see Cool once again pulling it to the front right there. A lot of positions changing hands as we enter into these very tight, very difficult hairpin turns.
Yeah, Cool back up in first here. Summer having a fantastic run this time around too. We're still in our first lap here right now, but it is very neck and neck as Luning is going to get that big draft here with a boost to try to pass, but he's blocked out.
Only 0.2 of a second separating top 2 positions there coming into track number 2. It's a very tight race here. All 4 of these racers potentially could be contesting that 1st place spot, but Cool for now at least holding on to that 1st place, looking to win 3 out of the first 4 tracks here. If he could, it would be a phenomenal performance, but Summer, HyunSu, and InSoo hot on his tail.
Yeah, InSoo actually making a big run back in after losing a lot of that momentum here. He just needs to keep hitting these drafts, and everybody's basically constantly drafting here because everyone's so close by and in these narrow turns as we're moving closer towards the end here right now. Cool still maintaining that lead as he continues to block. Every time a Nitro is used to try to pass him, he blocks it out.
Oh, that
Look
was a
at that.
fantastic block there by Cool as he's able to maintain this lead.
He's doing so well. He's blocking extremely well right now.
Yeah, this is legendary.
He just had like 4 in a row.
Yeah, look at this defense coming out of Cool right now as HyunSu's going to try his best with the draft to close the distance. InSoo also hot on his tail. Keep in mind, he does have that extra point there in boost duration, but Cool, with his lead, is going to secure 3 wins out of the first 4 tracks. InSoo right behind him. HyunSu and Luning rounding out the top 4. And Cool now, I think, 30 points in total. Leading by quite a large margin.
World also having a 7th place finish this time around, so not getting a ton of points himself. So the gap is actually getting pretty wide between Cool and World in terms of the standings. InSoo taking 2nd here, you can see. So World gets no points from this Chorong and some are dropping down. And this is a track record here as well for Cool. Very well played, passing World's old record. So, you know, it's crazy what we have here, but we do clearly have, I think, a top 5 and a bottom 3 right now, as I think Luning has had his moments, but the finishes, the one that matters the most, what you place not for 3/4 of the race, but when you cross that finish line, that checkered flag hasn't been coming up big for him. He's still in the running here, but with 3 first-place finishes, you got to think there's only a few races left, probably 3 left if Cool continues to perform here. Possibly 2 if he gets first 2 times in a row, like that's very unlikely. But you probably got 3 races left to close that gap if you are Luning right now, because that might be the cutoff.
Yep, we'll see if Luning is able to close the distance and breach that top 4, or if our top 4 racers will be able to continue to pad their lead as we head to World Tour Terracotta Twister. Round 5 of Solo Speed kicks off here as Cool's looking to add another pin in his hat for a 4th track win out of 5 as him and InSoo are leading the charge here. Summer and World just behind him.
Yeah, this is a track where there's a lot of aggressive corners that you have to do early on, so it is going to favor someone like InSoo with the build that he's chosen in the early parts. Cool will eventually be able to pass him, but the ability to build Nitro on this track is also helped by the fact that you're constantly drifting, so if InSoo can consistently boost non-stop, he should be able to stay competitive here, staying in top 3.
All right, we'll see if anyone makes any mistakes coming into these turns. InSoo with a bit of a collision there, but nice recovery as no one's taking this too tight on the line. Chorong almost there, just hugging the lip there, hanging 10. Almost fell down, but as it is, everyone navigating that difficult inner passageway safely here. Cool continuing to maintain the lead. HyunSu and World behind him. And Chorong once again in top 5, contesting a top 4 spot overall here in the standings.
And Cool is actually zigzagging very well, taking inner then outer, so while he's also blocking and preventing passes, he's making sure the chances of him getting collided with while a Nitro comes through are lessened. But HyunSu is actually starting to challenge him here. He moves into 2nd, World takes that 1st place spot, but the consistency of World and Cool in this group has been insane so far.
Yeah, it feels like they're contesting podium spots every single track.
Every time.
I would love to see the statistics on that after we're done with this one. As Cool retakes the lead coming into this difficult inner passageway. A lot of tight turns right here. We'll see if anyone goes for some really greedy lines, but as it is right now, so far our players successfully navigating this yet again as Cool continuing to compound on this league. I don't know how he does it.
I mean, he just doesn't make mistakes, man. And now it's just him versus World in a 1v1 to decide who's going to take that 1st place. Will Cool get a 4th one? The answer is yes!
He gets a 4th win right there. 40 points in total. 4 out of 5 tracks are Cool's.
And now, because of this circumstance, if you're Luning, you know, at the bottom of the, not at the bottom, but really trying to contest for qualification for that winner's match, you're glad you got top 3, but you're also a little bit nervous because you have 1 more life, basically, if Cool does it again, right? You're like, okay, well, he has to do both for me to only have 2 races left. Otherwise, I get 3, right? Good start here to pick up 5 on this one. But another record here broken. He breaks InSoo's record, who was the record holder previously, just by a hair.
Cool is just on fire, and if anyone got a chance to take a quick look at the drafts over there on the right side, Cool had about half as many drafts as anybody else because that's how long he was in 1st place. And he was able to maintain that with fantastic line taking, with body blocking, as we saw even right there at the finish line. And I mean, Cool is just playing out of his mind right now. There was a lot of hype going into this guy, coming into, you know, the round of 32, and he didn't exactly deliver. He was a little bit, you know, as we said, up and down, up and down. But here in round of 16, it feels like he's got his mojo back.
Yeah, it also feels like he's been overshadowed by players like World, and I think even players like Spear on his team in team speed. And he's on a roster that's extremely competitive, and his performance hasn't been bad by any means, but I think he has often been overshadowed by those players. So people were a little bit down on him going into this group. But tonight is his night, man. He is one win away, one first place finish from ending our group here. As we move into Mine Gold Rush, we're going to find out if he can do it.
Here we go on Mine Gold Rush. Cool with another first place could send us all home right now with a victory here in solo speed. Chorong and HyunSu right now hanging on at the precipice, tied at 20 points apiece, contesting for that winner's spot. A lot on the line here, Wolf.
Certainly. We do have two players tied in fourth place right now, HyunSu and Chorong, so there's a bit of a battle going on between those two in terms of who's going to qualify, so keep a close eye on that individual matchup between those two. As this has been one of Cool's weaker starts actually here, back at fifth place right now. Summer was in the lead for quite some time, but it's now Cosu who needs so desperately the points here, who's in first, and the weaker the performance from Cool, the better if you're at the bottom of the standings here. But I don't know if Cosu's going to have a chance even with a win here. It's going to be so hard to catch up, but it's a start.
Certainly is a start, and right now World in a commanding position and finishing lap number 1.
I mean, Cool's back up here, man. I'm like, it's done, it's over. Look at him go.
How does he do it? World was a third of a second ahead of the second place racer there coming in at lap number 2. But Cool, once again, in the top 4 in drafting range. Man, he is playing out of his mind. Once again, in first place here on Mine Gold Rush as he's contesting this spot up there with Chorong, with World, with HyunSu. Cool, he wants to win yet another track.
I mean, it would be incredible if he could do it, but he's dropped down now to 4th as World and HyunSu are battling it out. Some of our players who are towards the top of the standings. The difference between HyunSu's finish here and Chorong's is going to be massive. He's 2 places ahead, which is quite massive at this stage.
They're tied.
I mean,
for
so
a moment
close.
they were. I mean, now look at this.
Here we go.
Second and third place.
Oh, look at the inner he's taking. He might actually get the pass. He's in the
Oh
lead.
my goodness,
Cool! What? Unbelievable!
What? Unbelievable performance by Cool as he wins another track to deliver 50 points. 5 out of 6 tracks in solo speed today, round of 16. Cool wins in an almost perfect fashion, and I am just in disbelief right now. I was not expecting this performance out of anybody today, but Cool delivered.
He really, really did. He and World played amazingly, and that is the end of the group. With this victory, he is going to close us out. Unfortunately, Luning picking up no points here. Summer dropping down. Chorong also underperforming versus HyunSu, so we do have a clear top 4. InSoo and HyunSu tied at 24 points, but they both will make it through that qualification. But we have not seen a group like this just yet. This is a 19-point differential between first and second, bigger than Neil's group when he played earlier on in the tournament. As InSoo performing very well here with the build he chose to. Another cool storyline that we look at as you look at how he decided he wanted to play this race. He said, I'm not going to be the main character. I'm just going to be one of the characters in top 4 because that's going to get me the winner's match. And while we zoomed in on him early, and it definitely was the cool show for the rest of the series, in the background, he was performing incredibly well. World showing up big. Now, none of these bottom 4 players are eliminated, but they will move to the losers bracket.
Yep, one of their lives are taken here as they move to the losers bracket, and just a phenomenal performance out of Cool. I mean, I got goosebumps watching that final race. You know, it felt like he didn't have the best start there on that last track, but somehow, I mean, it was like he was seeing through the matrix, man. He just took every perfect line. He got all the drafts, all the body blocking that you need, delivers a near perfect performance here in the round of 16. Like, this isn't qualifying. This isn't a round of 36, 32. This is a round of 16. He almost had double points of World, who finished in second. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I gotta say, the top 4 advancing today into the winners bracket are the players that I expected. But wow,
we did have
what a performance.
We did have that, like, which story are we gonna see, right? And the top players won. You know, the underdogs were defeated, and there weren't a single underdog that made it through. There wasn't an upset of one of our favorites not making it through. So sometimes that's just how it goes in professional kart rider. But the 19-point differential in this group, even if it was like the same as Neil's win, Neil's group win was a much easier group. And Cool is just one of those players that you feel like when you watch him, you know that, yeah, he'll play in the team league. He's not as teamwork oriented, I think, as a lot of the roster, but he's a very successful runner. But you see him in solos, and it's like, this is what he likes. Like, this is his, this is what he enjoys. Like, this is, when you win this much too, you also get to continue to pick the tracks you want. So you're like always just on cloud 9. And it's funny that he has 50 because the one time he didn't win, he got 0 points. So it looks like he actually had the perfect run when in fact he did not. But one track off of it, man, 5 out of 6. That's our best record so far here in Kart Rider Drift.
Yeah, just phenomenal stuff there by Cool. And you know, before we go into leagues like KDL, we have our teams like interview the players and ask them, you know, what are your favorite tracks? How often do you play? That kind of thing. And Cool's one of those guys that's like, yeah, I don't really have a favorite track. I'm good on all of them. And he kind of proved that today right here in the solo match, you know? Oftentimes you see players do that and it's like, yeah, it's good that you got that confidence. It's good that you believe in yourself. But are you really good on all the tracks? And then Cool, I mean, he wins track number 1. He picks like, what, 4 more tracks in the entire solo speed? And he wins pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I think that we did see, we're going to take a look at today's results, and we did see some of the players that are the underdogs perform well regardless, but, you know, we'll see what they could do in the losers matches. Let's refocus back on the team matches that did happen earlier today, where ReBoot was able to take the upset win against Sensation.
Yeah, ReBoot there with a phenomenal 3-1 item win, and then winning in the ace there against Sense. The Freaks also won, which is the expected result there against Planet. I mean, probably the most favorited team coming into today, absolutely. And I gotta say though, Planet, they really put up a fight. That 3-1 item win, and then even the ace match was so close.
Len's really earning, even though he didn't get his birthday present, I think earning some birthday praise for sure to bring them to that ace match. The ace match, as you mentioned, was close with Acid Fly. Not enough ultimately, though, unfortunately. In the Kwangdong Freaks, their reign of terror does continue as 4-0, as mentioned, with a +11. Aura, on the other hand, has been so good in their wins that they might actually pass Kwangdong Freaks if Kwangdong Freaks drop even a single series, which they almost did today.
It's possible. I mean, Aura's been so good, specifically in item mode, which is kind of surprising because oftentimes, you know, you go into item mode, there's just so much chaos. You think that, okay, obviously this is skill-based, but it's so hard to be consistent just because there's so many variables. But, you know, you watch Aura play and it feels like every single time they have a plan, they execute it, and they deliver a win, and that translated into a fantastic round score.
Now, the second group for solos is going to be very exciting as well. We talked about the results quite a bit, but, you know, previewing the next matchup, we have players like Neil. And this group, I would argue, is a lot easier, but it's also a group where you have clear favorites, right? Anyone wearing a Kwangdong or Live Sandbox jersey, I'm going to say the chances are high, right? Neil, Jimin, Sungbin here, and Perfect. But that being said, Jimin is the item ace, right? He's a player who's done very well outside of item, but maybe we could see an upset. I think Speed and Knock are kind of my underdogs here that could maybe be dark horses in this group.
Yeah, I agree with you, absolutely. When it comes to the round of 16, it feels like today was kind of, I mean, it's a match, it's not a group, but it felt like the match of death.
Yeah.
And it just makes Cool's win even cooler. I mean, I'm still on cloud 9 after that. Like, what a thrilling way to end a great day of KDL, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of KDL, tomorrow we will have these matches here. Live Sandbox returns to the stage, and hopefully Sunga will be recovered for this one because it is a really big match between Live Sandbox and Aura. It's really important for the standings to see which one of these teams is going to take it. If Aura gets the upset win here, they're going to be hot on the heels of Kwangdong Freaks. And then RO.16 Esports versus Finale. These teams on different momentum. You know, ROX's the favorite if you asked me a week ago. But right now, I kind of feel like maybe Finale is going to run away with this because their item play with Banana has been great. ROX's item is the worst in the league right now. So I'm kind of leaning towards Finale. And then that solo matchup we just talked about will be happening right afterwards.
Yeah, it's possible. But if you're RO.16 Esports, you desperately want to come away with a win there, especially after the loss that Sensation had today. Because I mean, Rocks, they're already in position to strike for those playoff spots. Of course, in the team league, we have 8 teams. 4 of those will be advancing to the playoffs. 4 will be eliminated after we finish the round robin stage. And Rocks is in a pretty good position to be contesting that 3rd or 4th seed.
Yeah. And it really is going to come down to, like, a lot of what regular season is about is who's the best team, right? Who's number 1? And right now, KWANGDONG FREECS holds that spot. But ultimately, it's really who's going to playoffs, where we have that double elimination format there. So that's going to be very intense. But if you don't make it out, your tournament life is done. A lot of these players have already been eliminated from the solo competition as well. So if you lose, your team loses, and you've lost in solo, you're waiting for the next season.
Yeah, but I mean, it is the preseason, right? It's the dawn of a new era here for Cartwrighter Drift Esports.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's it for us today, though. Hope you guys really enjoyed the matches, the intense races, the ace matches. But we're going to be back with some more KDL tomorrow. We'll see you then.